After my master passed away, I replaced him as the new sovereign of Sin City. However, after so many years, the 5 of us have been searching for the entrance to the treasure, but we have not been able to find it. Hence, the other 4 sovereigns will not give up Sin City. So that was the case. Sheiji, I believe that you know a thing or two about me. Since that is the case, I will not waste any more words. I will definitely obtain Sin City. No matter who it is, they will not be able to stop me. She sighed deeply. Although she did not spend much time with Longao, she knew Longao's character very well. Once he had decided on something, he would not change his mind. Sheiji, with your relationship with Brother Dugu, I will not treat you as an outsider. Let's work together. I want Sin City, and you want the treasure. We will each take what we need. How about that? Work together? Of course, Sheiji hoped to work together with Longao. Just as Longao said, her relationship with Dugu Bai was obvious. However, she knew the strength of the 4 sovereigns very well. If she offended the 4 sovereigns, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although Sheiji did not say anything, Longao knew what she was worried about. No matter what, the strength of the 4 sovereigns was obvious. Not to mention Sheiji, even he might not agree. Longao, forgive me for being blunt. It is impossible for you to go against the 4 sovereigns by yourself. Even if you add my strength, you will not be a match for the 4 sovereigns. Nodding his head, Longao knew what Sheiji meant. Longao knew himself well. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to go against the 4 sovereigns. However, he was determined to dominate Sin City. Even if he knew it was impossible, he had to do it. Longao's body exuded a powerful confidence and aura as he said, Sheiji, thank you for coming to inform me this time. However, I will still say the same thing. I will definitely dominate the city of Sin. Farewell. Longao did not continue to stay because he did not want to make things difficult for Sheiji. It was also for Brother Dugu's sake. Looking at the gradually departing figure, Sheiji's eyes gradually blurred. Her face revealed a trace of helplessness as she muttered to herself, This is Master's wish. I cannot give up. I'm sorry. After leaving the restaurant, Longao was especially careful. Even without Sheiji's reminder, he already knew that the 4 sovereigns would not let this matter rest. They could find trouble with him at any time. In a secluded place, within the Dragon Seal space, Longao went straight to the point and asked, Long Fu, try to sense and see if there is a huge treasure under Sin City. Longao was not a fool. To be valued by the 5 sovereigns and be willing to guard it for more than 10 years, it was obvious what kind of treasure was under Sin City. It would be a lie if he did not want to take it. Longao knew that he was not a noble person. Chapter 397. Longao knew that if anything happened to the Emperor's spiritual beast, Sin City would be the first to suffer. Because of this, Longao knew that anything could happen to anyone but Sin City. When Longao returned to the inn, he found that Sheiji was no longer there. He shrugged his shoulders helplessly. It seemed that this matter was a little troublesome. Fortunately, the 5 emperors had been searching for the entrance for so many years and still could not find it. Longao, I want to follow you. Longao heard Wen Lan's voice not long after he left the inn. Smiling, Longao was not surprised at all. He had already guessed that Wen Lan would agree to follow him. Nodding his head, Longao said, Follow me. Then, he walked towards his residence. In the courtyard, Wen Lan, my intention is simple. I want to dominate the city of Sin. Tell me more about the city of Sin and see what I should do next. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will win 100 battles. Longao, it's actually very simple to control Sin City. You only need to do 2 things. What 2 things? Longao knew very well that Wen Lan had been in Sin City for many years. She knew more about the city than he did, which was why he asked this question. As everyone knows, the true overlords of Sin City are the 5 great sovereigns. Therefore, if you want to conquer Sin City, you must first defeat the 5 great sovereigns. Only then can you convince the people of Sin City that you are the strongest. If you can't even defeat the 5 great sovereigns, then I'm sorry, but I advise you to give up on this idea. Although Wen Lan's words were unpleasant, Longao knew that Wen Lan was telling the truth. If he wanted to dominate Sin City, he must first defeat the 5 emperors. As for the second thing, it's the urban army. Urban army? Just as expected. Longao, if you can defeat the 5 grand emperors, the rest of the urban army will be easy to deal with. When the time comes, I believe that 99% of them will choose to submit to you. Therefore, if you want to dominate the city of Sin, you must defeat the 5 grand emperors. Otherwise, there is nothing to talk about. Even though there were 2 points, Longao knew that the final point was still the same. Only by defeating the 5 emperors would one be able to dominate the city of Sin. Longao couldn't wait to see the power of the city of Sin. Not to mention Sin City, just the strength of the urban army was extremely small. Not to mention world kings, there were over 100 great sovereigns. Just what sort of concept was this? Longao, let me ask you a serious question. Do you have the confidence to deal with the 5 sovereigns? Longao knew that when Lon was still worried. After all, the 5 great sovereigns were too powerful in the city of Sin. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to disobey the 5 great sovereigns. If it wasn't for the fact that she was desperate, when Lon wouldn't have acted like this. Then, he stood up and stretched his body. Ever since he had cut down 2 world kings and 20 great sovereigns with a single saber strike, Longao had become completely famous in the city of Sin. It could be said that everyone feared him. The rules of survival in the city of Sin were very simple. That was, people ate people. If you were strong, then you could live freely. But if you weren't strong enough, then let alone your dignity, you wouldn't even be able to keep your life. This was the city of Sin, a place where people ate people. The dark forest wasn't too far from the city of Sin. A round trip of 2 hours was enough. The dark forest was known as a paradise for spirit beasts and a hell for martial artists. Thus, under normal circumstances, no one was willing to enter the dark forest. The dark forest was far too terrifying, even above the city of Sin. From this, one could imagine just how terrifying the dark forest was. Longao left the city of Sin. An hour later, he arrived at the dark forest. At this time, Longao was summoned by Long Fu. Out of curiosity, his soul entered the dragon seal space and he asked, Long Fu, what business do you have with me? Master, I just thought of something. Don't you want to dominate the city of Sin? Longao nodded. It was because of this that he became even more curious. He didn't know just what Long Fu wanted to say. Chapter 398. Master, since you want to develop your own force, why don't you create a corpse slave army as the dragon sex trump card? Corpse slave army? Longao had considered this before, but creating a corpse slave army was easier said than done. Long Fu, let's get straight to the point. I've thought about this before. Just like you said, I also want to create a corpse slave army. I have no problem killing spirit beasts, but it's all up to you. Longao was confident in his own strength. As long as he didn't encounter a World King spirit beast, he could easily kill any spirit beast below the Grandmaster realm. Longao was only worried about one thing, and that was Long Fu. No matter what, the dragon seal space still hadn't recovered to its peak. If he continued to create soul slaves and corpse slaves, would he be able to handle it? On one side was the corpse slave army, and on the other was Long Fu and the dragon seal space. If he had to choose, Longao would definitely not choose the corpse slave army. Master, don't worry about this. Creating soul slaves and corpse slaves is more than enough. Hearing this, it would be a lie to say that it wasn't tempting. Longao knew that if he could create an invincible corpse slave army, it would be of great help to the dragon sex development. As for Sin City, it was just child's play in front of the corpse slave army. Longao had always been embarrassed to suggest creating a corpse slave army, but now that Long Fu had suggested it, the meaning was completely different. Master, I can help you create a corpse slave army. Do you plan to stay in Sin City? Of course, Longao knew what Long Fu was talking about. If it was before, Longao definitely wouldn't give up on Sin City. After all, Sin City's strength was there for all to see. But now, the situation was completely different. In front of the corpse slave army, Sin City was so insignificant. On one side was the corpse slave army, and on the other was Sin City. There was no need to ask. Longao would definitely choose the corpse slave army, not Sin City. With the current situation, was he going to give up on Sin City? One had to know that he had come here specifically for the City of Sin. If he were to give up just like that, he would feel a little indignant. After thinking about it, Longao still decided not to give up on Sin City. He still wanted to dominate Sin City. The reason was simple. Longao had already thought about where his family and sect would go. No matter what, his family and sect couldn't stay in the ordinary spirit realm forever. They had to go to the spirit realm of the 9 states. The Sky Martial continent was divided into 2 domains, the normal spirit domain and the 9 continent spirit domain. The biggest difference between the 2 domains was the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was precisely because of this that Longao had decided to move his family and sect from the ordinary domain to the 9 regions spirit domain in the future. Long Fu, I still don't intend to give up on Sin City. All right, Master, no matter how many spiritual beasts you kill, I will help you refine soul slaves or corpse slaves at the fastest speed. I believe that in about a year, you will have an invincible corpse slave army. At that time, it won't be a problem for you to sweep across the 9 continents. Nodding his head, Longao left the dragon seal space. Looking at the huge forest in front of him, he didn't hesitate and stepped into the dark forest. The dark forest, the pitch-black forest covered the sky and the sun. There was no sunlight at all. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as he stepped into the dark forest, Longao didn't know if his luck was too good, but he encountered 3 lightning draconic horses. They were so fast that he could only see the shadows of the wind. They were great elder spiritual beasts, and they were the lightning draconic horses that were known for their speed. Longao was very surprised because the draconic horses were a branch of the giant dragon clan. They had the blood of giant dragons in their bodies. If they were ordinary spiritual beasts, Longao wouldn't be afraid at all. However, the lightning draconic horses were completely different. They were too fast and didn't give Longao a chance to react. They attacked fiercely. In just a few seconds, Longao had been attacked continuously for hundreds of times. His body was covered in blood, as if he was a bloody man. Longao was shocked in his heart. He did not dare to hesitate because if this situation continued, he would be killed by the lightning draconic horse sooner or later. However, he was powerless. After all, the speed of the 3 lightning draconic horses was too fast. In the end, without any other choice, Longao could only release the aura of heaven and earth. He arranged the aura of heaven and earth on the surface of his body. As expected, the aura of heaven and earth blocked the attacks of the 3 lightning draconic horses. The lightning draconic horses kept roaring, but they didn't dare to get close to the aura of heaven and earth. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Longao didn't wait for his death. He directly used a soul attack. However, the 3 lightning draconic horses were too fast. The soul attack missed every time. The God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror, 2 strange forces spread out and shrouded the 3 lightning draconic horses. While locking onto the lightning draconic horses, they changed the flow of time and reversed it for 3 seconds. Taking advantage of the 3 seconds of time reversal, Longao made his move. However, Longao still underestimated the speed and strength of the 3 lightning draconic horses. In just a second, they broke free from the time reversal. Then, the 3 lightning draconic horses continued to attack. This time, the attacks were even more ruthless. One move after another, each move was vicious. They obviously wanted to kill Longao. Longao was depressed to the extreme. His luck was really bad to the extreme. He had just stepped into the dark forest, and he had already encountered 3 powerful lightning draconic horses. Once again, he was attacked fiercely. If it wasn't for the protection of the Holy Desolation physique, Longao would have been killed. Even so, Longao knew very well that if the situation continued, he would be killed by the 3 lightning draconic horses sooner or later. Was he going to die here? He was unwilling, but he wouldn't give up. This was Longao's character. No matter what difficulties or dangers he encountered, he would never give up. He didn't in the past, he wouldn't now. And it was even more impossible in the future. Both of his fists smashed fiercely in all directions. Punch after punch, punch after punch. Wherever the fist force passed, only wind shadows were left. He couldn't see the 3 lightning draconic horses at all. He couldn't even hit their afterimages. This speed was simply terrifying. At this time, the roar of a dragon and a tiger could be heard. Then, a giant black dragon and a giant black tiger suddenly appeared. The 2 spirit beasts directly pounced on the 3 lightning draconic horses from the left and right. The 3 lightning draconic horses never thought that a giant dragon and a black tiger would suddenly appear at this time. They didn't dare to be careless. The 5 spirit beasts instantly engaged in battle. Long Ming and Long Chong were extremely fast. Longao couldn't compare with them at all. Because of this, it was impossible for the 3 lightning draconic horses to win by relying on their speed. Longao was overjoyed. He never thought that Long Chong and Long Ming would be the nemesis of the 3 lightning draconic horses. Chapter 399. Longao was overjoyed. Long Chong and Long Ming's speed could completely restrain the 3 draconic horses. 1 man, 1 dragon, and 1 tiger, 3 attacks. In terms of speed, they definitely suppressed the 3 draconic horses. Longao was not polite at all. He punched each of the 3 draconic horses on the top of their heads and directly smashed the 3 draconic horses to death. Without wasting any time, he sent the corpses and souls of the 3 draconic horses into the dragon seal space, preparing to refine them into corpse slaves. With such speed, as long as it wasn't speed, the draconic horses could look down on all warriors of the same level. Sitting down on the ground, Long Ao gasped for air with big breaths. His hair was blood red, and his body was covered in blood. At this moment, Long Ao was extremely terrifying. Not bad to be able to kill draconic horses. No wonder you have the guts to enter Sin City. Hearing the voice, Long Ao immediately stood up and looked at the 5 people in front of him cautiously. When he saw Sheiji standing on the left, Long Ao had already guessed the identity of the other 4. The 5 sovereigns that dominated Sin City, had always been elusive. Long Ao, do you know your crime? Know your sister. Long Ao hated this kind of people the most. They would ask if you know your crime or not. Who do you think you are? In the eyes of others, the 5 sovereigns might be high and mighty existences, but in Long Ao's eyes, the 5 sovereigns would always be the 5 sovereigns. Ha ha ha, Long Ao, I like your character. Ha ha ha. The 4 sovereigns laughed without restraint. After all, Long Ao's strength was there for all to see. Yet, he was so arrogant that he didn't even put the 5 of them in his eyes. Dragon martial artist? I didn't expect you to be a dragon martial artist. Dragon and tiger accompany each other. If you were given enough time to grow, your future achievements would be great. Unfortunately, you no longer have the chance. Long Ao's heart skipped a beat. He had already guessed that the 5 sovereigns would pursue him, but he didn't expect them to chase him to the dark forest. Long Ao, you want to enter Sin City? That's right. If you're willing, you can submit to me. Submit to you? Ha ha ha, not bad. A very good suggestion. Hearing Long Ao's words, other than Sheiji's solemn expression, the other 4 laughed maniacally again, as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Long Ao, I have to admit that your strength is very strong, especially that blade. It can be described as shocking. Unfortunately, your cultivation level is too low. Do you think you can withstand the 5 of us? Although he was confident in his own strength, Long Ao knew his own limits. Even if it was a one-on-one fight, he would not be able to defeat a world emperor martial artist, let alone the 5 sovereigns. The greatest difference between a world king and a world emperor was that a world king possessed the power of a domain. As for a world emperor, besides being able to support a domain, they could also break through the power of a domain. This was the true strength of a world emperor. Long Ao's complexion was extremely ugly. He had just fought with the 3 lightning draconic horses and had already expended his energy. If he were to continue fighting now, it would only bode ill for him. At this time, Long Ao suddenly realized that Sheiji was winking at him. What did she mean? Long Ao, hand over the dragon and your blade technique, and we can let you go. Break your arms and legs, cut off your tongue, and never step into Sin City again. He had to admit that the four sovereigns were ruthless enough to kill him. At this time, without waiting for the four sovereigns to take action, Longao's body suddenly moved. He took the initiative to attack, giving the four sovereigns a fright. However, just as the four sovereigns thought that Longao was courting death, Longao turned and quickly left. Ran away? The four sovereigns looked at each other. They never thought that Longao would run away. However, in their eyes, they were full of confidence and chased after him. Although Longao wouldn't retreat when encountering powerful warriors, it didn't mean that Longao didn't know the difference between life and death, especially if he was courting death. He clearly knew that he wasn't a match for the four sovereigns, yet he still wanted to send himself to their doorstep. What was the difference between that and a retard? As long as there's life, there's hope. It was precisely because of this that Longao immediately turned and shot away after receiving Sheiji's instructions. Longao knew very well that with his speed, it was impossible for him to escape unless he relied on Longchong. After arriving on Longchong's back, Longchong obviously knew what had happened. He shot towards the deepest part of the dark forest at his fastest speed. Just like that, Longao and the five sovereigns used all their strength, one in front and one behind. The four of you, Longao has already disappeared. Why don't we return first and discuss how to find the entrance? Sheiji was very worried about Longao. No matter what, Longao was ultimately Dugubai's brother. As the saying goes, even if you don't give the monk face, you have to give the Buddha face. If something happened to Longao, how was she going to answer to Dugubai in the future? However, Sheiji knew that she couldn't be too obvious about this matter. Otherwise, if the four sovereigns found out, even she would be in big trouble, let alone Longao. She was very confident in her own strength, but if it was 1 against 4, Sheiji knew that she was no match for the four sovereigns. The four sovereigns, Eastern Sovereign Luo Tian, Southern Sovereign Zhou Chun, Northern Sovereign Yifeng, and Central Sovereign Nangong II, looked around with gloomy expressions. They were unwilling to let Longao escape when they were so close to capturing it. I can guarantee that Longao's saber technique is definitely a supreme martial technique if we can obtain it. Yifeng didn't continue speaking, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. Longao's heaven-shaking saber strike that had cut down 2 world kings had already spread throughout the entire Nifa city. Anyone who received this news would be shocked, all of them guessing just how powerful Longao's saber strike was. It's not because of the saber technique. I really didn't think that this child was actually a dragon martial artist. Nangong II, you should know that this child is only a disciple of Scarlet Fire Town. He's not even close to the 3rd rank Long family. The 3rd rank Long family has already intervened in this matter, and it's not good for Longao. If nothing unexpected happens, the Long family will soon know about Longao. Long family. Hearing this name, everyone's heart trembled, because everyone knew what the Long family represented. On the surface, the Long family seems to have a rule that any Long family disciple below the 3rd rank will be killed immediately once they become a dragon martial artist. But you and I both know that with Longao's talent and potential, as well as his status as a dragon martial artist, will the Long family kill him? Without a doubt, it's impossible. If nothing unexpected happens, not only will the Long family not kill Longao, they might even nurture him. With a deep sigh, Zhou Chen continued, if that's really the case, then we'll be in big trouble. Author's note, the first chapter was delivered in time. Last night, there was a blackout until 10 o'clock. Little Nine hurriedly wrote it when the electricity came. Chapter 400. As one of the most terrifying forces in the world, it was a piece of cake for the Long clan to deal with a person. The four sovereigns knew very well that if Longao's talent and potential were to be fancied by the Long family, the consequences would be unimaginable. The chances of Longao being heavily cultivated by the Long family were very high. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao's luck was good and he entered the Long family, then even if the 5 sovereigns joined forces, only death would await them. Thinking of this, the 4 sovereigns' faces turned ruthless. Zhou Chun said coldly, no matter what happens, we have to kill Longao. Cut the weeds and pull out the roots to prevent future troubles. Cut the weeds and pull out the roots to prevent future troubles. The other three sovereigns nodded in agreement. The only one who didn't express her opinion was Nameless. She was worried because she couldn't object to what the four sovereigns had decided. Otherwise, the four sovereigns would definitely find something wrong. In the deepest part of the dark forest, Longao sent Long Chong into the dragon seal space. He endured the waves of weakness that came from his body and immediately found a secluded place to recuperate. Longao didn't dare to relax his vigilance because he knew very well that if he didn't summon Long Chong, the five sovereigns wouldn't continue to chase after him. But now, Long Chong and his identity as dragon martial artist had been exposed. He believed that the five sovereigns would definitely not let this go. Long family's strength wasn't something that the five sovereigns could contend with. In order to prevent future troubles, he believed that the four sovereigns would definitely cut the weeds and pull out the roots. One day later, inside the dragon seal space, Master, with your current strength, whether you encounter a world king or a world emperor, you won't have the slightest ability to resist. Long Ao nodded. Regarding this point, Long Ao could be said to be extremely pained. If he were to encounter a world king, then he could use Blooddrinker's seventh move, tear the heavens and rend the earth. At worst, he would be weakened for several days. But if he were to encounter a world king, he would have no strength to resist at all. He wouldn't even have the chance to attack. Long Ao was well aware of his own strength. If his cultivation could break through from the great exalted realm to the world king realm, then he would be able to instantly kill a world king. As for a world sovereign, even if he couldn't contend with them, once he used Blooddrinker's seventh move, tear the heavens and rend the earth, he would be able to borrow the power of space to destroy them. In other words, his top priority now was to break through to the Void World King realm. Long Fu, do you have any ideas? Master, it seems a little unrealistic for you to break through to the peak Great Venerate realm with just World King and World Emperor spirit beasts. How about this? You go and kill 30 Great Venerate spirit beasts. Once you refine them, I'm confident that you can instantly break through to the peak Great Venerate realm. 30 Great Venerate spirit beasts. This number sounded terrifying, but to the current Long Ao, it wasn't anything at all. As long as he didn't encounter a freak like the Lightning Dragon Horse, then Long Ao could become an invincible Great Venerate. Long Ao nodded. He left the dragon seal space and immediately began hunting. As he hunted, he also tried his best not to run into the four sovereigns. Long Ao was indeed strong. In just 2 short days, he had already killed 25 Great Venerate spirit beasts. In other words, he was only 5 more Great Venerate spirit beasts away from breaking through to the peak Great Venerate realm and then becoming a world king. The Void 8 realms. The Void World King realm nearly reached the peak of the Void realm. This was because as long as one broke through to the World King realm, that was the same as touching upon the threshold of the World Emperor realm. According to the division of strength, World Kings were divided into 4 ranks. They were the Primary World King, Intermediate World King, High World King, and Peak World King. As for World Emperors, they were also divided into the Primary World Emperor, Intermediate World Emperor, High World Emperor, and Peak World Emperor. Unknowingly, Long Ao had already arrived at the deepest depths of the dark forest. The trees blotted out the skies and blocked out the sun. There was no sunlight at all. Ancient trees towered all around. Stifling. Long Ao felt more and more stifling, as if he couldn't breathe. He was like an ant on a hot pan, fidgety and restless. Array formation? Long Ao was startled. This was because he never imagined that there would be such a powerful array formation in the deepest depths of the dark forest. If it weren't for him having obtained his master's array formation inheritance, he would have long since been eroded by this array formation. Not daring to be careless, Long Ao immediately began to study this array formation. The more he studied, the uglier his complexion became. This array formation was far too fierce. It could even contend with heaven and earth array formations. Just who had laid down such a terrifying array formation here? Long Ao didn't shrink back. This was because he knew that if he left this place before his cultivation broke through to the World King realm, then once he encountered the 4 sovereigns, all that awaited him was death. With wolves in front of him and tigers behind him, Long Ao finally chose to continue forwards. The deeper he went, the more solemn Longao's complexion became. This was because the stifling pressure around him became increasingly fierce. Moreover, he had to be careful at all times. If he were to be attacked by the array formation at any moment, the consequences would be unimaginable. Whoosh! At this time, a white shadow flashed past. Longao was startled, thinking that it was a lightning draconic horse. But as he looked closer, he saw that this white shadow was actually a white fox with 9 tails. 9-tailed white fox? Longao was thoroughly shocked. He was well aware of what a 9-tailed white fox represented. The 9-tailed white fox was a legendary super-existence. Although it wasn't too strong, it was incomparably useful. It was rumored that the blood of a 9-tailed white fox could help a martial artist rapidly increase their strength. A 9-tailed white fox. Was his luck really that good? Longao was pleasantly surprised to the extreme. This was because he never imagined that he would encounter a 9-tailed white fox here. If he said that he didn't want to obtain it, then that would be a lie. However, Longao didn't act rashly. This was because he had some understanding of the 9-tailed white fox. Although the 9-tailed white fox wasn't very strong, its speed was incomparably fast. Even the lightning draconic horse couldn't compete with the 9-tailed white fox. If he could obtain the 9-tailed white fox's blood, Longao was confident that he could break through to the peak Great Honorable Realm in one fell swoop. It could even help him advance to the Void World King. If that was the case, it would be awesome. Longao stared at the 9-tailed white fox. Seeing that the other party was motionless, Longao also stood motionless. He didn't even dare to release his aura, afraid that he would disturb the 9-tailed white fox. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Whether he could break through to the Void World King realm depended on whether he could capture the 9-tailed white fox. Kid, do you want to capture this 9-tailed white fox? Hearing the voice, Longao was shocked. From the beginning to the end, he hadn't sensed the slightest bit of aura. He turned around and looked at the middle-aged man who had suddenly appeared. He was dressed in white and looked gentle and elegant, giving people a very comfortable feeling. However, Longao didn't dare to be careless because the white-clothed man gave him an unfathomable feeling. This kind of strength was very terrifying. Chapter 401. The man in white had a smile on his face as he gently fanned himself with the folding fan in his hand. Are you a disciple of the Long family? Hearing the man in white's words, Longao was shocked because he did not expect the man in white to expose his identity. Could it be that the man in white already knew that he was a dragon warrior? That was impossible. Ha ha ha, don't worry. I just sensed a dragon aura on you. I have a good relationship with the Long family. His heart sank. Longao could almost be sure that the man in white before him was powerful. He was at least at the Great Emperor realm. It was precisely because of this that Longao became even more vigilant. I don't know how to address you. Longao. His surname was Long. The man in white smiled. There was no need for the other party to answer. Just this surname alone was enough to explain Longao's identity. The man in white said, My name is Yiwushuang. I wonder which Long family disciple you are? Level 2 Long family. Long family had countless branches and a total of 9 levels. Only those who had broken through level 3 and above were qualified to become dragon warriors. Everyone knew about the Long family. Yiwushuang? The man in white was Yiwushuang? Hearing this name, Longao's heart was in turmoil. Could this person be the traitor that his master mentioned? Brother Yi, I wonder if you were the one who set up the spirit array here? There were definitely many people called Yiwushuang in the world, but if it was Yiwushuang who could set up a super formation, it would not be a fluke. Yiwushuang was very surprised. He said, So you know about formations too? Not bad, not bad. You're right. I did set up the formation here. As expected, Longao's heart was already filled with killing intent, but he did not act rashly. He suppressed his impulse rationally because Longao told himself that Yiwushuang was a great Emperor Realm cultivator. With his current strength, if he wanted to avenge his master, it would only backfire. There was a knife hidden in a smile. Looking at Yiwushuang before him, Longao knew very well that with Yiwushuang's identity and ability, The reason why he could speak to him in such a pleasant manner was not because he valued Yi Wushuang. Instead, he valued the so-called Long family. The more Yi Wushuang behaved like that, the more Longao feared him. A person who hid a knife behind a smile was the most terrifying. Longao had promised his master that no matter what happened, no matter what danger he encountered, he would clean up the mess for his master. He would kill Yi Wushuang and avenge his master. Longao did not tell Yi Wushuang about him and his master. He did not even tell Yi Wushuang about the formation because he and Yi Wushuang were from the same sect. Yi Wushuang would definitely know if he revealed the formation. Brother Yi, I only know a little about array formations. I'm definitely incomparable to you. I wonder why Brother Yi is setting up this array formation. Vaguely, Longao had already guessed that the reason Yi Wushuang set up the formation was for the nine-tailed white fox. It was precisely because of this that Longao became even more curious. Although the nine-tailed white fox was extremely fast, with Yi Wushuang's strength, it was extremely easy for him to catch the nine-tailed white fox. Ha ha ha, to be honest, I came to the dark forest this time, mainly to hunt the nine-tailed divine fox. However, the nine-tailed divine fox is too fast, so I can only rely on this nine-tailed white fox to lure it out. Nine-tailed divine fox? Hearing Yi Wushuang's words, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Of course, he knew what the nine-tailed divine fox represented. Legend had it that the nine-tailed divine fox was the highest existence, and its blood was extremely precious. According to the nine-tailed divine fox's blood, as long as he had 1/3 of its blood, Longao was confident that he could break through the World Emperor realm in one fell swoop and reach the so-called illusionary divine stage. The nine-tailed divine fox is at the Great Emperor realm. It's too fast, and I can't hunt it at all. That's why I set up this 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation, hoping to hunt the nine-tailed divine fox. The divine fox emperor. Longao was not surprised at all because he had already guessed the nine-tailed divine fox's strength. Otherwise, with Yi Wushuang's strength as a great emperor, how could he not be able to hunt the nine-tailed divine fox and set up the so-called 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation? Longao heard from Fontian that Yi Wushuang's skill in setting up formations was almost 80% or even 90% of his. What kind of concept was that? Longao knew that with his skill in setting up formations, it was impossible for him to set up the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation successfully. Longao could completely predict that as long as the nine-tailed divine fox appeared, Yi Wushuang and the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation should not be a problem to kill the nine-tailed divine fox. Longao, you and I are fated. How about this? Regardless of whether I can kill the nine-tailed divine fox or not, I'll give you this nine-tailed white fox. How about that? Longao sneered in his heart. He did not believe that Yi Wushuang would have such a good heart, and he did not believe that there would be such a thing as a free lunch in the world. Longao knew very well that Yi Wushuang knew that he was a level 2 Long family disciple and already had the intention to curry favor with him. Although the great emperor was extremely powerful, in front of the entire Long family, Yi Wushuang was nothing. No matter how angry and murderous Longao was, he did not show it on his face. He said gratefully, "Thank you. What do I need to do?" Brother Long, I've always admired the Long family, especially the Dragon Valley. If my guess is correct, Brother Long should have a lot of status in the level 2 Long family. How about this? If there's a chance in the future, please recommend me. I really want to enter the Dragon Valley to take a look. As expected, Longao knew that there was no such thing as an idiot's lunch in the world, especially someone like Yi Wushuang. If he were to give the nine-tailed white fox to him for free, not to mention Yi Wushuang, even he would not dare to accept it. Anyway, it was all nonsense. No matter how good it was, no one would find trouble with him. It was precisely because of this that Longao said with a smile, "Brother Yi, there's no problem with that. To tell you the truth, my father is the head of the level 2 Long family. As long as I say the word, you can enter the Dragon Valley to take a look. However, you can't have any other thoughts. Otherwise, not only you, but even I will be in trouble." He cursed in his heart, filled with disgust and contempt. However, Yi Wushuang was overjoyed because he knew what the Dragon Valley meant. If he could really enter the Dragon Valley and obtain the giant dragon's approval, so what if he was hunted down by the Long family? Nodding, Yi Wushuang said, "All right, I'll have to trouble Brother Long with this matter." Eh. Before Yi Wushuang could finish speaking, a white figure flashed in the distance. Yi Wushuang was overjoyed and immediately retreated with Longao. He also activated the 9 Heavens 10 Earths killing formation. The 9 Heavens 10 Earths killing formation was extremely powerful. The 9-tailed divine monkey that had just appeared was about to leave with his son when it was attacked. It was shocked and hurriedly dodged. Chapter 402. How should he choose? Looking at the traitor Yi Wushuang who was right in front of him, Longao was making a decision in his heart. This was because he knew that if he did not make a move now, who knew how long he would have to wait to take revenge. Yi Wushuang was a titled Great Emperor. Even if Longao was confident in his talent and cultivation speed, Yi Wushuang's strength was there for all to see. If the attack did not succeed, then things would backfire, and he would be the unlucky one in the end. Make a move? Not make a move? After thinking about it, Longao chose to give up in the end. He would rather wait for a few more years than take the risk at this time. Once he was killed by Yi Wushuang, not to mention taking revenge, what would happen to his family and lover? A little impatience spoiled great plans. In the end, he suppressed his impulse. The 9 Heavens 10 Earths killing formation attacked the 2 9-tailed white foxes crazily. Although the 9-tailed divine monkey was a great emperor spirit beast, it could not withstand the attack of the formation at all. In less than a few minutes, it was already riddled with holes. "Brother Long, the 9-tailed white fox is yours." With a loud laugh, Yi Wushuang's body had already dashed out. However, Longao did not pity him at all because this was the law of survival on the Tianwu continent. Whether it was a cultivator or a spirit beast, as long as one's strength was insufficient, one would have to accept their fate. Arriving in front of the 2 white foxes, Yi Wushuang did not hesitate at all. He struck the 9-tailed divine monkey's head with his palm. The 9-tailed divine monkey died with endless unwillingness and anger. Letting out a long sigh of relief, Yi Wushuang placed the 9-tailed divine monkey somewhere. In any case, the 9-tailed divine monkey's corpse had already disappeared. However, what Yi Wushuang did not expect was that Longao had actually taken away the 9-tailed divine monkey's soul right under his nose. If Yi Wushuang found out about this, who knew what kind of trouble it would cause? Longao was pleasantly surprised to the extreme. The harvest this time was really not bad. Not to mention the 9-tailed white fox. Just the 9-tailed divine fox's soul alone could sweep through the 9 provinces once it was refined into a soul slave. But what made Longao feel incomparably depressed was that the damage to the dragon seal space was too severe, and it was impossible to refine a great emperor-level soul slave. Otherwise, with a great emperor corpse slave overseeing the sect, they could practically ignore everyone. Even so, Longao was still pleasantly surprised. Once the great emperor's soul was refined, it would be of great help for him to break through to the world emperor level. He might even break through to the illusionary divine stage. Longao didn't hold back in the slightest. He sent the 9-tailed white fox that had already been killed into the dragon seal space. With the white fox's blood and the souls of more than 20 spirit beasts, breaking through to the peak great sovereign realm was almost an easy matter. "Brother Long, are you satisfied with this result?" "Quite satisfied." "That's good. I've already obtained the 9-tailed divine fox, so I'm going into seclusion to cultivate. You won't be able to see me for a while, or even for a few years. But don't worry, as soon as I come out of seclusion, I'll definitely come looking for you." "No problem. Come find me when the time comes." Watching Yi Wushuang gradually leave, Longao's eyes slowly turned cold. He clenched his fists tightly. For a moment, he really wanted to go up and kill Yi Wushuang to avenge his master. Longao knew very well that with his current strength, he was not qualified to take revenge. Strength. What he needed the most now was strength. After finding a secluded place, Longao summoned the 9-tailed white fox from the dragon seal space. Without the slightest pity, it swallowed all the blood. As expected, the 9-tailed white fox's blood was very strong. As soon as it entered his throat, it spread all over his body. Not daring to be careless, Longao immediately sat cross-legged and began to cultivate quietly. With the dual infusion of the white fox's blood and soul power, Longao's cultivation base broke through from the intermediate Great Venerable to the peak Great Venerable in just 2 days. He was only one step away from officially entering the World King realm. Inside the Dragon Seal space, Long Fu, what should I do to reach the Void World King realm as quickly as possible? Longao was impatient. Long Fu certainly understood his master's mood. He thought for a moment and said, Master, if you want to break through to the Void World King realm, you must first condense the power of a domain. I plan to have you condense the Desolate Domain. Desolate Domain. Longao had already heard Long Fu talk about the Desolate Domain. It was very simple. It was to use his own desolate physique to condense a domain with his own strength. According to Long Fu, the Desolate Domain was above all other domains and was the most powerful domain. Once he condensed the Desolate Domain and broke through to the World King realm, he would be able to sweep away all World Kings. As for a World King, Longao didn't have full confidence. Master, I will help you condense the Desolate Domain now. Longao was overjoyed. He couldn't wait. 3 days later, the 5 great sovereigns looked left and right, but they still couldn't find Longao's whereabouts. It could be said that the 4 great sovereigns were thoroughly depressed. The 4 people once thought whether or not Longao had already left the Dark Forest, or had already died in the Dark Forest. If this matter were to spread out, what face would we have left? All heaven was depressed to the extreme. Chapter 403. Seeing the sudden appearance of Longao, the 4 sovereigns looked as if they had seen a ghost. Sheiji was enraged to the extreme. She simply didn't know why Longao would walk right into their trap. Did he really want to die? In the end, Sheiji didn't reveal her identity. This was because Longao had brought this upon himself, and she was powerless to do anything about it. Even if she saw Dugubai in the future, she would tell him the truth. Longao, I have to admit that you are very courageous, but that doesn't mean you won't die. Die? With a cold snort, Longao glanced at the 4 people in front of him and indifferently said, It's not certain who will emerge victorious, but I can clearly tell you that there are only 2 paths in front of you. The first is death, and the second is submission. Waha wahahaha. Hearing Longao's words, the 4 sovereigns crazily laughed. Even Sheiji was helpless. Longao was far too arrogant. Things should have been reversed, but now? A great sovereign martial artist threatening 5 sovereigns? This was unheard of. Nangong too took the little fellow into his arms and walked out with a gloomy expression. He stretched out his right hand and crooked his finger, saying, One move. If you can survive, I will kill myself here. One couldn't help but admit that Nangong too was indeed arrogant. But Nangong too had the qualifications to be arrogant. Not only was he one of the 5 sovereigns of Sin City, but he was also a world sovereign martial artist, a lofty existence. One move. Longao didn't speak any nonsense, because no matter how much he spoke, nonsense would always be nonsense. Longao and Nangong too stood face to face, staring at each other. At this time, a powerful aura erupted from their bodies, fiercely colliding with each other. Domain aura? Feeling the domain aura emitted from Longao's body, everyone was shocked. It was also because of this that everyone had already guessed why Longao dared to walk into the trap. Although they didn't fear Longao, they were still amazed by Longao's cultivation speed and talent. In just 3 or 4 days, Longao had broken through to the World King realm from a great sovereign. This speed was far too tyrannical. So you've already broken into the World King realm. No wonder you're so arrogant. Without giving Longao a chance to speak, Nangong too suddenly laughed out loud and boldly said, Longao, I will now let you know just how great the gap is between a world king and a world emperor. With that, Longao and Nangong too released their respective territories. Normally, without any special reason, a world king would condense a domain. The higher one's boundary was, the greater the power of their domain. In a normal situation, Longao had just become an early world king, so it was impossible for him to resist the power of a world king's domain. Moreover, once his cultivation broke through to the world king realm, he could directly break through a domain. This was also why martial artists said that a world king was nothing but trash in the eyes of a world emperor. The reason why Nangong II was so confident was because the gap between a world king and a world emperor was impossible to make up for. Break for me. It wasn't just Nangong II, but everyone else, including Sheiji, believed that Nangong II could defeat Longao in a single move. Just breaking through Longao's domain would be enough to defeat him. It was because of this that no one could understand why Longao would come here to die, even though he knew he was no match for Nangong Tuesday. Just as everyone thought that Nangong II would break through Longao's domain, the situation reversed. Nangong II simply couldn't break through the power of the domain. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. What kind of joke was this? A world emperor couldn't break through a world king's domain? Everyone was dumbfounded. Longao was actually overjoyed. As Long Fu said, the desolate domain he condensed was extremely powerful. Let alone a world king. Even a world emperor might not be able to break through his desolate domain. In the moment that Nangong II was lost in thought, Longao used a soul attack. In a normal situation, Longao wouldn't dare to use a soul attack. After all, he was only at the world king realm. Once he suffered a backlash, the consequences would be unimaginable. A pitiful cry sounded out. Luckily, Nangong II dodged quickly, otherwise that attack would have taken his life. Hearing Nangong II's pitiful cries, everyone was stunned. They didn't know what had happened to him. Longao didn't take advantage of the situation to pursue. Instead, he calmly stood where he was, coldly looking at the pained Nangong Tuesday. You weren't defeated in a single move. Rather, I defeated you in a single move. Please. At this moment, Nangong II's complexion was gloomy to the extreme. This was because he never imagined that he would be defeated in a single move. Was this true? Suppressing the pain and weakness in his mind, Nangong II coldly said, "We just agreed on a fair battle, but you?" Longao waved his hand, disinclined to listen. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Nangong Tuesday. Even if Nangong II had been defeated and admitted defeat, Longao might not have looked down on him. But if he had clearly lost and didn't want to die, then he had to find a reason to do so. Moreover, it was an unfounded reason. This was simply too shameless. Nangong II, if you don't want to die, then say so. There is no need to find so many excuses. If you want to fight, then let's continue. If you don't want to die, then submit. Choose one. Longao's tone was overbearing and arrogant. But the five sovereigns were well aware that the current Longao was no longer the same as he was in the past. He had the qualifications to be arrogant. It was hard to imagine that in just a few days, Longao's strength had doubled. He was even able to defeat Nangong II in a single move. Just what sort of concept was this? Longao, if we fought fair and square, would you be my match? Idiot. As Longao coldly looked at the five people in front of him, he suddenly said, I normally don't fight with women. The four of you can come at me together. The four of you together? What did Longao mean by this? Hearing Longao's words, the four sovereigns didn't seem to have reacted. When they did, their faces were filled with anger. Longao wanted to fight the four of them alone? This was simply looking down on them. How could they not be angry? Longao, do you really think you are invincible in the world? You and I both know very well how strong you are. There is no need to put on airs here. Although Longao had just defeated Nangong II in a single move, the four sovereigns still didn't put him in their eyes. In their eyes, a realm king would always be a realm king. There was a huge gap between them and a realm king. You don't dare to accept the challenge? All right, since you are courting death, don't blame me for being ruthless. The four sovereigns didn't continue to talk nonsense. In any case, there was no one here. So what if they joined forces? At worst, they would just be laughed at by Nameless. Things had already reached this point. The four great sovereigns already knew that they had to kill Longao. Otherwise, according to this child's talent and potential, They believed that it wouldn't be long before Longao's strength would surpass them. When that time came, it would really be troublesome. Chapter 404. Although she was surprised by Longao's strength, Sheiji was not optimistic about a normal battle. With the four sovereigns working together, who could defeat them unless it was an illusionary divine martial artist? Not to mention that Longao was only a world king. Sheiji did not believe it, regardless of whether others believed it or not. However, Sheiji knew that there was nothing she could do. If Longao could not defeat the four sovereigns alone, what was the use of her joining in? Apart from exposing her identity, it would be useless. At this moment, the five of them were already engaged in a fierce battle. The four sovereigns had just attacked and released the power of their respective territories. Since they could not break the other party's territory, they had to form an absolute suppression on top of the territory. The four sovereigns could not understand why they could not break the other party's territory with their strength. However, under such circumstances, the four of them did not think too much about it. They only knew one thing, and that was to kill Longao. They thought that they would be able to suppress Longao after the overlapping of their territories. However, the four sovereigns did not expect that the power of Longao's territory was too strong. Not only were they unable to suppress him, they felt like they were being suppressed instead. Their hearts trembled as they did not know what was happening. Fighting 1 against 10, Longao vaguely had the upper hand. However, Longao knew very well that with his strength, it was impossible for him to defeat the four sovereigns. It was because of this that Longao directly used the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror. Their bodies were locked and time began to flow backward. Sensing that their bodies had been forcefully locked onto, the four rulers were shocked. They did not know what had happened. However, the four sovereigns were world kings after all. With their combined strength, they broke through the lock and time flow. At this moment, Longao held the blood-sucking wild saber and slashed down fiercely. Blood-sucking, seventh move, tearing heaven and earth. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that with his strength, he was no match for the four sovereigns. Since that was the case, he might as well stake it all and use blood-sucking, seventh move. Wouldn't it be better if he could defeat the four of them in one move? The shocking saber strike was accompanied by rolling thunder as it slashed down from the sky. The surrounding space began to tremble slightly because of the terrifying saber light. The space was torn apart by the saber light, and terrifying spatial cracks appeared. The four emperors were completely stupefied. After all, hearing about it was one thing, but actually encountering it was another. If they had known earlier that Longao's saber technique was so terrifying, the four sovereigns would not have dared to be so careless. After all, in a battle between martial artists of this level, the slightest carelessness could lead to eternal damnation. The four sovereigns could sense the terrifying might of this saber. They did not dare to face it head-on, so they all turned around and prepared to leave. But would Longao give the four sovereigns a chance to leave? Soul attack. Longao endured the weakness of his soul and split it into four. This was something that he couldn't do normally. At this moment, when the four great emperors were frightened, Longao's soul successfully attacked them. The four great emperors screamed at the same time. As a result, the speed of the four great emperors slowed down. In a battle between experts, a few seconds were enough to determine the outcome, not to mention a shocking saber strike. The four great emperors' faces were filled with horror and even despair because their souls were severely injured. At this moment, they could not escape at all. In fact, the four great emperors knew very well that the reason they lost to Longao in this battle was entirely due to their carelessness. If they had gone all out from the beginning, would the outcome be the same? However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Just when the four great sovereigns thought that the four of them were definitely going to die, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. He did not give the four of them any chance to react at all. He directly pushed the four of them out with one palm each. The saber light disappeared, and the sky cleared up after the storm. Looking at the merged space, the four great emperors did not react until this moment. Longao, why did you save us? Looking at the youth in front of them, the four great emperors were curious. Since this youth had the chance to kill them, why would he save them? The four great emperors were well aware that the reason Longao entered Sin City this time was because he wanted to monopolize Sin City. As long as he could kill the four of them, then from this day forth, there would no longer be any five great emperors in Sin City. There would only be one person, and that was Longao. The four great emperors were a bit depressed. Even now, the four great emperors found it hard to accept this. Several days ago, Longao had been a great senior that could be easily trampled upon. As long as they wanted to, they could instantly kill Longao. But in just 3 or 4 days, Longao's cultivation had broken through to the World King realm. Moreover, the power of his domain was incomparably formidable. Even they were unable to break through his domain. For great world emperors joining forces had actually been defeated by a world king that had just broken through. If this matter were to spread out, would anyone believe it? Let alone others, even the four great emperors found it hard to accept this reality. Victory and defeat have been decided. I won't speak any more nonsense. I want to monopolize Sin City. Now, there shouldn't be any problems with that, right? Problems? The four great emperors bitterly smiled. As the saying went, the winner was king while the loser was a bandit. No matter how much they didn't want to admit it, the truth was placed in front of them. A loss was a loss. Longao, from now on, the four of us will not take a single step into Sin City. From now on, you will be the overlord of Sin City. No. The four great emperors prepared to leave. But as they heard Longao's words, their expressions froze. Nangong too coldly said, Longao, you've already defeated us and we've already given up on Sin City. What else do you want? Don't go too far in everything. At worst, we'll just die together. Looking at the incomparably angry sovereigns, Longao felt helpless. He gloomily said, I've already said that you only have 2 paths. Either you die or submit. Before the four emperors could speak, Longao continued, I hope that all of you will follow me. I can guarantee that all of you will achieve much more in the future. Furthermore, I can help all of you break through to the illusionary divine stage. They completely ignored what Longao had said previously and only focused on the realm of the illusionary divine stage. Nangong too asked, Can you really help us break through to the illusionary divine stage? The four of them knew how difficult it was for the world emperor to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Who knew how long it would take for the world emperor to break through to the illusionary divine stage? However, the four of them were suspicious. After all, the world emperor was only a world king. If he could break through to the illusionary divine stage, why couldn't he do it himself? Of course, Longao knew what the four emperors were thinking. He smiled and said, Half a year ago, I was only a Hotian third heavenly layer warrior. Chapter 405. Half a year? Third heaven of the Hotian stage? The 5 great sovereigns were not fools. Of course, they knew what Longao meant. Hotian realm, Scientian realm, metamorphosis realm, nihility realm. Under normal circumstances, one would need at least 20 years to break through from the Hotian realm to the World King realm. Some would even need 30, 40, 50, or even 60 years. However, Longao only used half a year to complete what others would take decades to complete. If they had not heard it with their own ears, they would not have believed it. The 5 emperors had a good understanding of Longao. They knew about Longao's past, but they did not believe it. Longao, how long will it take for us to break through to the illusionary divine stage? This was what the 4 emperors were most concerned about. To be honest, it did not matter if they submitted to Longao, as long as they could break through to the illusionary divine stage. So what if they followed Longao in the future? 3 months. Hearing Longao's words, the 4 emperors were dumbfounded. They thought that Longao was joking. After all, they knew how difficult it was for the world emperors to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Looking at the time, the East Emperor had already worked hard for 10 years and was still unable to break through. Within 3 months, I will help all of you to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Master, we will follow you in the future. Life and death will not change. The matter had already reached this point. The The four great sovereigns steeled their hearts and directly chose to submit to Longao. Longao was elated. He looked at Sheiji. Before Longao could ask, Sheiji said, Dugubai is following you. Now, even the four great kings are following you. Do I have a choice? What did Wu Ming mean? Since the four emperors had already chosen to submit to him, Longao did not hide anything and told them about what had happened. After hearing this, the four sovereigns were enlightened. At this moment, Zhouchen suddenly asked, Master, forgive me for being blunt. For so many years, the five of us have been guarding this place mainly for the treasures of Sin City. Therefore, we hope to find this entrance as soon as possible. How could Longao not know about the anxiety of the five sovereigns? After all, the five great sovereigns had guarded Sin City for so many years for this treasure. How could the five great sovereigns give it up? However, Longao would never agree to the five sovereigns' request. Others might not know, but how could Longao not know? What lay beneath the city of Sin wasn't any treasure, but the so-called evil spiritual beast. Moreover, it was at the great emperor level. Come with me. Suppressing the waves of weakness that came from his body, Longao naturally would not show it in front of the five sovereigns. Longao knew very well that with his current strength, it was impossible for him to kill the four world sovereigns alone. This time, he was able to defeat the four sovereigns in one fell swoop, mostly due to luck and the carelessness of the four sovereigns. Until now, the four sovereigns still could not understand why they had lost in such a depressing manner. Longao was even more clear that although the four sovereigns had chosen to submit to him, they were still somewhat unconvinced in their hearts. It was because of this that Longao had to act tough. Otherwise, how could he suppress the four sovereigns? The six of them found a quiet place and sat down. The five of you, I'll be honest with you. I've already checked the treasure you're talking about. I can tell you clearly that there's no treasure under the Sin Mountain. There's a great sovereign spiritual beast sealed inside. Master, don't joke around. That's right. What kind of joke is this? Back then, the seniors had investigated very clearly. The so-called treasure is indeed under Sin City. Waving his hand, Longao said helplessly, You don't have to doubt me. After all, we're a family now. There's no need for me to lie to you. The five sovereigns smiled bitterly. No matter what, they had guarded Sin City for so many years. Now that they were suddenly told that there was no more treasure in Sin City and that there was only a sealed evil spiritual beast, how could the five of them be willing to accept this? Master, it's not that we don't believe you. It's just that we really can't accept this. We've guarded this place for more than 10 years and in the end, we've lost everything. This, I know, but I still have to tell you that the spiritual beast under Sin City must never be released. Otherwise, not only Sin City, but also other places will be affected. The consequences will be unimaginable. Great Emperor level. The five sovereigns were well aware of what an emperor-level spiritual beast represented. I really didn't expect that there would be a great emperor-level spiritual beast sealed under Sin City. The five sovereigns sighed. In the end, everything was just a dream. This matter ends here. No matter what happens, the great emperor-level spiritual beast sealed under Sin City must never be released. Oh yes, I'd like to ask, what's the classification of the 8 illusionary divine realms? Longao only knew that above the illusionary divine realms were the 8 illusionary divine realms. Above the 8 illusionary divine realms were the 10 great emperors, and above that were the titled great emperors. The 10 great emperors were red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, purple, black, white, and gold. As for the 8 illusionary divine realms, Longao did not know. It was precisely because of this that the 5 sovereigns were shocked. Swallowing their saliva, Nangongtu asked in disbelief, Master, do you really not know, or are you pretending not to know? Of course it's true. Looking deeply at the young man in front of them, the 5 sovereigns knew that their master was not lying. They shrugged their shoulders helplessly. Thinking about their master's identity, the 5 of them understood. No matter what, their master was just a small disciple from Chihua Town in the normal spiritual domain. It was normal for him to not know about the classification of the illusionary divine realms. The five sovereigns were very clear that it was still a big question whether there were any illusionary divine realm martial artists in the normal spiritual domain. Master, the 8 illusionary divine realms are divided into the half-sage realm, earth sage realm, sky sage realm, sage king realm, sage emperor realm, sage venerable realm, sage emperor realm, sage emperor realm, and sage emperor realm. Nodding his head, Longao finally knew how the 8 illusionary divine realms were divided. Following which, the 5 sovereigns began to explain the strength of the 8 illusionary divine realms. Longao listened quietly and only managed to finish after an hour. Master, what do you intend to do next? The 5 sovereigns already knew about the feud between Longao and the 4 great organizations. It was precisely because of this that the 5 sovereigns asked this question. Longao didn't want to hide anything from the 5 sovereigns. He said, I came to Sin City this time around to build my own force so that I can fight against the 4 great forces. Moreover, I have decided to move my sect into Sin City later. Chapter 406. Master, you just said that there is an evil emperor spirit beast sealed under Sin City. Once the dragon sect enters Sin City and the emperor spirit beast breaks out of the seal, won't there be a lot of trouble? How could Longao not know about Zhou Qin's worries? Longao had thought about this for a long time and said, the headquarters of the dragon sect will not be located in Nephis City, but in the Dark Forest. As for Nephis City, it will be the city of the dragon sect. Damn, that's vicious. Hearing the master's decision, everyone cursed in their hearts. Compared to the Dark Forest and Sin City was like a child's play. The two were not on the same level. Master, are you not afraid of the spirit beast in the Dark Forest? Shaking his head, Longao smiled mysteriously and said, I have an idea. Longao did not say anything and the 5 sovereigns did not ask. Just like that, Longao led the 5 sovereigns out of the Dark Forest and towards Sin City. According to Longao's previous plan, he wanted to create an army of corpse slaves. But now, it seemed that he had to deal with Sin City first before continuing to create an army of corpse slaves. With Long Fu's help, Longao knew that it would not be a problem for him to create an army of corpse slaves. Sin City. At this moment, Sin City was in an uproar. The 5 sovereigns who had not appeared for many years suddenly gathered in Sin City. What kind of concept was this? No one knew what had happened. After all, the 5 sovereigns gathered in Sin City. This was something that had not happened for many years. Not only that, but the 5 sovereigns also announced a piece of news at the same time. When this news came out, it shook the entire Sin City. No one knew what had happened and why the 5 sovereigns would do this. So that was the case. It turned out that the 5 Grand Kings had gathered in Nephis City to announce the same thing. From now on, there would no longer be 5 Grand Kings in Nephis City, only one Grand King Longao. Not only that, but the 5 great sovereigns also announced that from now on, the 5 great sovereigns would follow Sovereign Longao and jointly manage the so-called Sin City. Longao. There was no one in Sin City who didn't know of this person. After all, he was the Longao who had killed 2 world kings and 20 great sovereigns with a single saber strike. Even so, there were still countless people who wondered just how Longao had been able to subdue 5 great sovereigns. The 5 emperors announced to the city of Sin. From then on, Longao officially entered the city of Sin and replaced the 5 emperors, becoming the new ruler of Sin City. Longao had just entered the city of Sin, and he immediately carried out reforms. The first step was to reform the urban army. Longao knew very well in his heart that if the urban army of Sin City continued to exist like this, Sin City would be finished sooner or later. Moreover, after Sin City was settled, he was prepared to move Dragon Sect and his family to the 9 states spirit domain. Longao had already made up his mind. Dragon Sect and his family would enter the Dark Forest. As for Sin City, it would become the outer sect of his sect. Many people in the urban army were dissatisfied with Longao's reforms. One by one, they stood out to resist, but they were ruthlessly suppressed by the 5 great sovereigns. Those who continued to resist were killed without mercy. Sin City was a place where people ate each other. It was a place where people bullied the weak and feared the strong. If you didn't act tough, you would be the one to suffer in the end. It was because of this that Longao chose to forcefully suppress them. 9 States Spirit Domain. Ever since Longao had assassinated the core disciples of the 4 great powers, the 4 great powers hadn't made any response. Each of them had their own ulterior motives and didn't want to give the other an opportunity to take advantage of them. However, the 4 great powers were very clear that if this continued, there would only be one result. That was, the 4 great powers would be swallowed up by Longao sooner or later. After 10 days, the 4 great powers couldn't bear it any longer. In the end, the 4 great powers came together to discuss and decided to deal with Dragon Sect together. In order to deal with Dragon Sect and not give Dragon Sect any chance to make a comeback, the 4 great powers sent out 4 great world emperors and 40 world kings. It could be said that they had put in their capital. The 4 great powers were Eastern Imperial City, Western Third Grade Long Family, Southern Nether Mansion, and Northern Ethereal Palace. Each great power sent out a world emperor and 10 world kings to form an army of destruction. They majestically left the 9 States Spirit Domain and headed towards the Ordinary Spirit Domain, Sky Province. 4 world emperors and 40 world kings. This kind of strength was enough to look down on the 9 States continent. Not to mention the Ordinary Spirit Domain. Even Sin City couldn't resist this army of destruction. The news of the 4 great forces forming a great army of destruction instantly spread throughout the entire 9 regions. Everyone who received the news turned pale with fright. Although many people had great confidence in Longao and the Dragon Sect, 4 world emperors and 40 world kings. Such a great army of destruction was simply too terrifying. Could Longao and the Dragon Sect withstand it? In the Ordinary Spirit Domain, all the great powers were looking forward to it. Even more people hoped that Longao could continue his counterattack and resist this army of destruction. Long Family, Great Hall. Long Hausher had already received the news. His face was extremely gloomy and worried. This time, the 4 great powers sent out an army of destruction. Chapter 407. Sin City. When Longao received the news of the 4 great forces forming an army of destruction, he wasn't as anxious as expected. Instead, he was abnormally calm. Master, what do you plan to do? Sheiji was very worried. Besides the Dragon Sect, she was also worried about Dugu Bai's safety. It had to be known that the 4 great forces had sent out 4 world emperors and 40 world kings. This strength was enough to destroy an Ordinary Spirit Domain. Even if all the masters of the 9 states were to join forces, they still wouldn't be able to resist. Since the 4 great forces want to find trouble, then I'll play with them. Longao sneered. He looked at the 5 sovereigns in front of him and said, "Are you willing to come with me?" "Yes." "Good. We'll get up immediately." This time, Longao was staking everything. Not only did he take away the 5 sovereigns, but he also took away the entire urban army. Longao roughly calculated. Besides the 5 sovereigns, there were more than 100 urban army members in the urban army. In other words, Sin City had more than 100 great honorable martial artists. Not only that, under the 5 sovereigns, there were more than 50 world kings and more than 200 great honorable martial artists. He wouldn't know if he didn't look, but he was shocked when he saw it. Counting, the number of martial artists that could be mobilized this time was 5 world emperors, more than 50 world kings, and more than 300 great honorable martial artists. F***CK. When Longao found out about this number, he couldn't help but curse. He had just entered Sin City and didn't know anything about it. Moreover, the 5 sovereigns had been developing for so many years. Their strength wasn't just for show. "Master, is this force okay?" "Very good. I want to see how the 4 great forces will destroy my Dragon Sect." The 4 great forces had sent out 4 world emperors and 40 world kings. They seemed incomparably powerful, but compared to Sin City's strength, they paled in comparison. Longao knew that although Sin City's strength wasn't bad, it was still lacking when compared to the 4 great forces. No matter what, the 4 great forces were the absolute overlords of the 9 states. After existing for so many years, their strength and foundation should be very strong. If he wanted to contend against the four great forces, his current strength wasn't enough. An army of corpse slaves. Longao knew that if he wanted to contend with the four great powers, there was only one fastest method, and that was to create a corpse slave army. Normal spirit realm, dragon sect. Dugubai, Longpatian, Xiajun, and the others all stood at the peak of the mountain and looked into the distance seriously. In another 2 hours, the four factions' army would arrive. 4 world emperors and 40 world kings. What should we do now? Xiajun was worried to the extreme. He thought that after his master left, the heaven and earth array formation he left behind would be able to resist any difficulties. But now, it seemed that even the heaven and earth array formation wouldn't be able to withstand the attacks of 4 world kings and 40 world kings. Dugubai waved his hand and said, "We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Remember, no matter what happens, we have to stop it." When Master left, he handed the dragon sect to us. We can't let anything happen to the dragon sect. You're right. We must protect the dragon sect. Hearing Longpatian and Dugubai's words, Xiajun smiled helplessly and said, "Can we stop it?" Just as Xiajun finished speaking, the entire mountain peak began to tremble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sound was earth-shattering. The 4 great powers had begun their attack. Feeling the trembling mountain peak, everyone's expression changed. Dugubai sneered and said, "Activate the heaven and earth array formation. This time, I want no one to return." Below the mountain peak, the 44 martial artists swarmed into the dragon sect. Initially, the 4 great organizations did not dare to enter the dragon sect as they had learned their lesson from the previous incident. However, the situation now was completely different. With the 4 world emperors joining forces, unless an illusionary divine martial artist personally appeared, who would be able to defeat them? The moment the 44 martial artists stepped in, they were enveloped by the heaven and earth array formation. If Longao was here, with the power of the heaven and earth array formation, he would be able to withstand it. But now, the problem was that Longao wasn't here. Although Dugubai and Longpatian knew how to activate the heaven and earth array formation, their strength was too low. Also, the two of them didn't know anything about arrays. With the combination of the two, the power of the heaven and earth array formation was reduced by half. The 44 martial artists crazily attacked the heaven and earth array formation. Because the 4 world emperors had already expected this, they obviously came prepared. The 4 great powers attacked the dragon sect. Countless people were looking forward to seeing if Longao could continue his counterattack. But no one knew that Longao wasn't even in the dragon sect. One had to admit that the combined power of the 4 world emperors was indeed terrifying. In just 1 hour, the heaven and earth array formation couldn't withstand it. The heaven and earth array formation was based on the power of heaven and earth. So even if it was attacked, it would automatically disappear and not be destroyed. Because of this, the heaven and earth array formation disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, everyone was delighted. The world emperors were indeed world emperors. In this attack on the dragon sect, the 4 great powers didn't lose a single soldier and directly broke the heaven and earth array formation. Ha ha ha, dragon sect, kill without mercy. Leave no one alive. The 40 world kings swarmed forwards. But at this time, a terrifying aura came shrouding over them. As they felt this aura, everyone was shocked. They retreated from the dragon sect in panic and fear. They looked at the dragon sect in front of them, not knowing what was happening. "Which senior is in charge of the dragon sect? Please come out and meet us." The 4 world emperors stared at the dragon sect in front of them. They could only feel the terrifying aura, but no one came out. Now, everyone was puzzled. They didn't dare to act rashly. After all, the aura that shrouded them was too strong. Without a doubt, it must be an illusionary divine martial artist. There was an illusionary divine martial artist in the dragon sect? No one would have thought of this. If there was really an illusionary divine martial artist in the dragon sect, they wouldn't dare to come even if they were beaten to death. The difference between an illusionary divine martial artist and an illusionary divine martial artist was huge. "Senior, please come out and meet us. Senior, please come out and meet us. Senior. No matter how the four world emperors shouted, the dragon sect was like hell. No one answered, and only a cold wind blew past. What's going on? Everyone was puzzled. Under normal circumstances, once there was an illusionary divine martial artist in the dragon sect, he would definitely not let them act presumptuously. Could it be that the dragon sect was just bluffing? Thinking of this, the four world emperors waved their hands. Immediately after, the 10 world kings shot towards the dragon sect. In the blink of an eye, they had already disappeared without a trace. The meaning of the four world emperors was very simple. They wanted to send the 10 world kings into the dragon sect to investigate what was going on. Chapter 408. The 10 world kings had completely lost contact with the dragon sect. The four world emperors did not dare to enter and could only wait outside quietly. Time passed quickly. Unknowingly, an entire hour had passed. What is the dragon sect up to? I don't know, but if I'm not wrong, the dragon sect must have an illusionary divine martial artist. What should we do now? Illusionary divine martial artist. Thinking that the dragon sect might have an illusionary divine martial artist, everyone cried. The 10 world kings were the best example. They had entered for such a long time and still had not come out. Thinking about it, they knew the fate of the 10 world kings. Waving his hand, the strongest of the four world emperors, the grade 3 Long Lin from the Long family, said coldly, "We have to think about this at length. Let's leave first." "Since you're here, why leave so quickly?" Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. Following which, figures shot over from afar. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived. Over 350 people stood in the air. Even a fool would know what was going on. This was because a martial artist could only stand in the air after breaking through to the great honored realm. Cough cough. Feeling the oppressive aura of the martial artists in the air, everyone from the four great forces was dumbfounded. They did not know what was going on. At this moment, a young man suddenly walked out from the crowd. He had fiery red hair, 2 fiery red eyebrows, and was dressed in black. He was the master of the dragon sect, Longao, a legendary figure. Void World King? How did Longao's cultivation break through to the Void World King? Everyone knew that Longao was only a heavenly honored realm cultivator. It had only been a few months since he had fought with the number 1 martial artist of the Long family. In other words, Longao had broken through to the Void World King from the heavenly honored realm in a few months? They did not want to believe it, but Long Lin and the other 3 world emperors knew that Longao's talent and potential were enough to look down on everyone. This cultivation speed was simply too terrifying. Longao. Waving his hand, Longao asked, "Who are you?" 3rd rank Long family elder, Long Lin. Rank 3 Long family. We originally had no enmity with each other, but your Long family has been causing trouble for me. If I let you go, I believe that from today onwards, you will treat me as a pushover. Without giving Long Lin any chance to speak, Longao turned to look at the 5 sovereigns and said, "I'll give you 10 minutes to kill all of them. Leave no one alive." "Yes, master." After stopping Sheiji, Longao smiled and said, "Go find Brother Duga. Leave this to me." Nodding her head, Sheiji also seemed to miss Dugu by. She turned around and quickly left. In a short while, she had already disappeared without a trace. The 300-plus great sovereigns didn't attack. After all, in this situation, if a great sovereign were to attack, they would only be slaughtered. The 4 great influences had already lost 10 world kings, leaving them with 30 world kings. But Longao had 50 world kings on his side. As for the world emperors, for against 4, it could be considered a draw. This time, Longao didn't watch the battle. He personally took action. Although it was a bit strenuous to fight a world king, with Longao's strength, killing a world king was something that could be done in a matter of minutes. Longao was like a bolt of lightning, constantly wandering among the numerous world kings. Every time a world king screamed, it meant that a world king had fallen. Around Dragon Sect, everyone was watching the great battle of the 9 heavens. They were all scared silly because the battle between the two sides was too earth-shattering. Such a battle scene was rarely seen in 100 years. Everyone sighed inwardly. Unknowingly, in less than a year, Longao, a trash from Scarlet Fire Town, had not only risen to power but also counterattacked the four great influences. Longao had carved out a path of blood in the midst of the continuous slaughter. He had established the Dragon Sect, which could even resist the four major forces. He had counterattacked time and time again. He could be considered to be on par with the four major forces. This was Longao, a genius who liked to create miracles. Now, Longao had become a godlike existence in the eyes of ordinary people. Especially the history of Longao's rise and counterattack, it was something that every loser dreamed of. Slaughter. Longao led many experts and began to slaughter the martial artists of the four great influences. He didn't care about the four great influences at all. In the 9 provinces continent, perhaps only Longao would dare to do such a crazy thing. Perhaps even Sin City wouldn't dare to do such a thing. At the peak of Dragon Sect, looking at the battle in the distance, everyone cheered. At the beginning, all the disciples of Dragon Sect were in despair. After all, the martial artists sent by the four great influences were too powerful. With Dragon Sect's strength, it was impossible to resist. But now, the timely appearance of the Master saved the sect, and the martial artists of the four great influences weren't that terrifying. Looking at the martial artists of the four great influences falling from the 9 heavens, everyone felt extremely happy. The Master Longao had become the idol of every disciple of Dragon Sect. High in the 9 heavens, 80 world kings and 8 world emperors constantly fought back and forth. One couldn't help but admit that Longao's strength was truly formidable. But at this time, Longao suddenly roared out, "Everyone of Dragon Sect, retreat!" Retreat? What did the Master mean by this? Everyone was completely bewildered. Chapter 409. Saber Piercing the Heavens. Longao used all his strength to use the 8th move of Bloodthirst, Saber Piercing the Heavens. With Longao's current strength, it was impossible for him to use Saber Piercing the Heavens. If he used it forcefully, there would only be one result. Apart from his strength being instantly drained, he would even suffer a backlash from the saber energy. However, Longao didn't care about anything. In his opinion, this saber strike must be shocking and completely suppress the four great forces. Longao's body rushed directly into the clouds. Logically speaking, Longao's saber should be slashing at everyone, but Longao did the opposite. The bloodthirst saber in his hand slashed fiercely towards the heavens. Longao merged the aura of heaven and earth into it, forming a dazzling and terrifying saber light that instantly cut through the clouds and rushed into the 9 heavens. Rumble, rumble. The entire sky began to resound. Before anyone could figure out what was going on, a thunder tribulation saber light suddenly slashed down from the sky, directly hitting the bloodthirst saber. At this moment, all the strength in Longao's body was drained. Resisting the waves of weakness that came from his body, Longao's body was on the verge of collapse. But even so, Longao still endured it in the end. Looking coldly at the crowd below, just when everyone didn't know what Longao wanted to do, the bloodthirst saber in Longao's hand had already slashed down fiercely. The shocking saber light was like a thunder tribulation, ruthlessly descending from the sky. "Oh my God! Hurry up and leave. Everyone was completely stunned because Longao's saber was too overbearing. Just the aura alone was enough to intimidate the heavens. Long Lin was completely frightened. After waking up, he immediately called for everyone to leave. Although everyone's speed was fast, the saber light was even faster. In the blink of an eye, it arrived and ruthlessly slashed at everyone. They didn't have the slightest ability to resist, including the 4 great world emperors. Before dying, Long Lin and the others couldn't figure out why Longao's strength was so terrifying. He was clearly a world king, but he could slash out such a shocking saber strike. Everyone was swallowed up by the saber light. Not a single one was left. Not only that, but the shocking saber light cut through the space, and traces of spatial cracks crazily devoured everything in the surroundings. Not to mention resisting the saber light head-on. One could clearly feel how terrifying this saber light was just by sensing it a little. Crack. The shocking blade aura cleaved down, and a huge crater appeared outside the dragon's sect. It was as if it had been cut in half. What kind of concept was that? The entire crater spanned from left to right and was a full 100 meters long. Everyone stared blankly at the power of this slash. They were all completely dumbfounded. Some of them even swallowed their saliva. Above the 9 heavens, Longao, who had just struck out with his saber, did not dare to be careless. He immediately turned around and returned to the dragon sect. Although the slash was extremely powerful, it drained all of Longao's energy. As soon as he returned to the dragon sect, before anyone could ask, Longao said, "Don't let anyone disturb me." His face pale and his body on the verge of collapse. Longao endured the pain and took a step forward, disappearing without a trace. What had happened? Of course, everyone could see that there was something wrong with the master at this moment. Everyone looked at each other and saw the deep worry in each other's eyes. However, no one dared to disturb the master. The master had clearly said that no matter who it was, no one was to disturb him. Who would have the guts to do so? The master's slash just now was truly shocking. Dugubai nodded and said, "The master's strength has already reached such a level, and this time, the master has brought back so many powerful martial artists. From now on, our dragon sect will be able to contend with the 4 great powers." Everyone nodded in agreement. The master's strength was clear for all to see. Even the 4 world emperors did not have the slightest ability to resist. No one would look at the process, only the result. Therefore, everyone could only see one result, and that was Longao. The master of the dragon sect was too powerful. With his strength alone, he had killed 4 world emperors and more than 20 world kings. Not only that, the master had brought back 5 world emperors, 50 world kings, and more than 300 great sovereigns. With this strength, the dragon sect would have the strength to contend with the 4 great powers in the future. Everyone, do your job well. Remember, do not be careless. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Under such circumstances, the Grandmaster had no idea what was going on. The destruction army of the 4 major forces had been massacred. If there were no accidents, the 4 major forces would definitely not let the matter rest once they knew about it. If the Grandmaster were to let his guard down at this time, who knew what would happen? No one dared to be the slightest bit careless. They divided up their work and handled their own matters. The news of the destruction army of the 4 major forces being killed by Longao, who had rushed back in time, instantly spread throughout the entire Juzhou continent. Anyone who received the news was incomparably shocked. A single saber strike had instantly killed 4 world emperors and more than 20 world kings. Was this something that a world king martial artist could accomplish? Of everyone, 80% chose not to believe this. But Longao's frequent counterattacks caused more and more people to slowly believe this fact. Not only that, but many people came here because of his reputation, wanting to see the ruins of the saber light in front of the dragon sect. A single saber strike had instantly killed 4 world emperors and more than 20 world kings. One could imagine just how terrifying Longao's saber strike was. It was because of this that everyone rushed in. However, they did not dare to approach the dragon sect. They all stood far away, looking at the heaven-shaking saber light. The dragon sect was no longer the same as before. Who would dare to provoke them? Moreover, everyone knew that the dragon sect and the 4 great powers were like fire and water. If one did not die, one would perish. If one was mistaken for someone from the 4 great powers, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Strangely enough, this was even more shocking. Some martial artists looked at the saber light ruins and were even able to gain enlightenment and make breakthroughs in their cultivation. It was because of this that even more people rushed in, wanting to see the saber light ruins. In the end, they wanted to make a breakthrough in their cultivation. It wasn't just others, but even the disciples of the dragon sect were crazily trying to comprehend Longao's saber strike. This was because the power of this saber strike was far too strong. There were even some people who stood around the saber light ruins for several days, or even half a month. They didn't eat or drink, they simply wanted to comprehend it. Counterproductive. After 3 days of recuperation, Longao's condition finally improved. But the backlash from Saber shattering the firmament was far too strong. He could only slowly recover. And at this time, Longao learned of the Saber Light ruins and immediately ordered the ruins to be completely sealed off. Only a small number of people could enter each day. This wasn't because Longao didn't want to, but because doing so would only harm many martial artists. Chapter 410. Many people were unhappy with the actions of the dragon sect. However, no one dared to voice their dissatisfaction. No matter what, the Blade Radiance ruins belonged to the dragon sect. If the dragon sect was willing to let them see it, they would let them see it. If they were not willing to let them see it, they would not even have the chance to resist. The dragon sect had already risen, and even the 4 great organizations could not stop them. In the main hall of the dragon sect, Master, we have slaughtered the entire destruction army. If there are no accidents, the 4 great organizations will not let this matter rest. If the 4 great organizations attack us now, how are we going to defend ourselves? Longao nodded his head. He knew what Dugubai meant. Although they had successfully slaughtered the destruction army, the 4 great organizations were not destroyed. They might even take revenge on him and the dragon sect. The 4 great organizations had been in the spirit domain of the 9 regions for so many years. Longao could imagine how powerful the 4 great organizations were. Their foundations were definitely beyond his imagination. Without a doubt, Longao could almost be sure that there were illusionary divine stage martial artists in the 4 great organizations. Illusionary divine stage martial artists were a problem for Longao. If the 4 great organizations really sent out illusionary divine stage martial artists, would the dragon sect and himself be able to defend against them? Longao waved his hand. As the master of the dragon sect, he had to appear calm. If the master could not remain calm, how could the normal disciples be calm? We only need to observe the situation closely. The 4 great organizations have suffered heavy losses this time. I believe that they will not attack again in the short term. Would they really not attack? Everyone looked serious. After all, the master was too ruthless this time. He had almost slaughtered the entire destruction army and left no one alive. What did that mean? Longao gave a few simple instructions and gave Long Patian a look. Then, the 2 of them turned and left. In the pavilion at the back of the mountain, Brother Patian, I am sorry. Master, what happened to you? Looking at Long Patian in front of him, Longao deeply sighed. Because of Long Jing's matter, he really didn't know what to say. No matter what, as long as the evil spirit didn't leave Long Jing's body, Long Jing would be in great danger. Since he had to face it anyway, Longao did not continue to hide it. He told her everything about Long Jing. After hearing this, Long Patian was very calm. He wasn't as furious as expected. He shrugged helplessly and said, Master, you don't have to blame yourself. No one wants to see this happen. Longao seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Master, I have a favor to ask of you. I hope you can agree to it. Longao was shocked by how serious his big brother Patian was. He hurriedly said, Big brother Patian, if there's anything you need, just say it. As long as it's within my power, I'll definitely do it. Longao truly regarded Longao as a friend, a brother, so he would do anything for his brother. Because of this, as long as it wasn't a mountain of blades or a sea of fire, Longao would agree to almost anything. Brother Long Patian, did not continue to call him master. Instead, he called him Brother Long. Because of this, Longao felt that this matter was becoming more and more serious. Long Patian had never acted like this before, even when his family was in trouble. Brother Long, do you know that my little sister likes you? Likes me? Long Jing likes me? Longao was startled by Long Potion's words. This was because he had never thought about this from the beginning to the end. He said helplessly, Big brother Patian, you're not joking with me, right? Long Jing has always been chasing me. If it weren't for the fact that I ran fast enough, I'd be a corpse by now. Longao did not believe that Long Jing liked him at all. What kind of joke was this? Back in Crimson Dragon City, he had almost been killed by Long Jing after accidentally looking at her body. Afterward, Long Jing had been constantly chasing him. If that was the case, Long Jing would still like him, unless there was something wrong with her head. Brother Long, you don't understand a woman's thoughts. I can say for sure that little Jing likes you. There's no mistake about that. Before Long Ao could speak, Long Patian waved his hand and said helplessly, Brother Long, I know that you don't like little Jing, but I hope that you won't hurt her, okay? Long Ao nodded. Since things had already come to this, what else could he do? Big Brother Patian, don't worry. No matter what happens in the future, I won't hurt little Jing.
Thanks.
The demon's whereabouts are unknown. With my current strength, I can't force the demon soul to leave little Jing. Big Brother Patian, this matter will have to wait. I understand. Long Ao felt very guilty about Long Jing's matter. No matter what, if it wasn't for him, the demon's soul would not have taken over Long Jing's body. The two of them did not continue speaking. They both sat quietly. Spirit Region of the 9 States, Rank 3 Long Family's main hall. At this moment, Long Maoan and Long Yan's faces were extremely gloomy. This was because the 4 major forces had never expected that the army of destruction they had sent out would be completely massacred. Not a single person had escaped. Master, this matter shouldn't be false. Long Ao's cultivation has already broken through to the Void World King realm. Moreover, he used a very powerful Armageddon martial skill. Many people saw Long Ao's blade slaying everyone. Moreover, someone had comprehended and broken through at the sight of the blade light. Nodding, Long Maoan thought for a while and finally said, Long Ao's strength has exceeded my expectations. It seems that Long Ao is really the reincarnation of a powerful expert. Master, Long Ao's development is too fast. According to the rumors, Long Ao has already subdued Sin City. At this speed, I believe that we won't be able to control Long Ao in 3 years. When that time comes, we'll be in big trouble. How could Long Maoan not know about Long Yan's worries? Could it be that he really had to ask the ancestors for help? Unless it was absolutely necessary, Long Maoan was not willing to use the family's foundation. This was because one could never be too careful. If the ancestors were injured, the sect's foundation would be damaged and the consequences would be unimaginable. Master, why don't the 4 major forces join forces and each invite an illusionary divine warrior to help? No matter what, we have to kill Long Ao first. Otherwise, there will be too many variables. I'll have to discuss this with the other 3 families. Oh yes, what does the Long family think about this? At the mention of the Long family, Long Yin became even more helpless. I don't know what's going on. If it was in the past, the family would have already responded. However, after such a long time, the family still hasn't said anything. I'm afraid. Although Long Yin did not finish his sentence, the meaning of his words was very clear. Under normal circumstances, the Long family would definitely ask about this matter. However, what about now? The Long family did not do anything. Chapter 411. There's no need to wait anymore. If I'm not mistaken, Long Ao's talent and potential have already moved the Long family. Although Long Maoan did not want to admit it, he knew that the Long family valued Long Ao. Family head, if that's the case, if we continue to deal with Long Ao, what should we do when the Long family blames us? The Long family had many branches and was divided into 9 classes. A Class 3 Long family was nothing in the eyes of the Long family. There's no need for that. The Long family's intention is simple. They want to test Long Ao. If Long Ao can survive, I can guarantee that he will join the Long family. However, if he can't, the Long family will not care about him. So that's why. Long Yin was not a fool. Of course, he knew what the patriarch meant. After all, the Long family just wanted to see Long Ao's performance. All these years, the Long family has been drifting away from us. If this continues, our family will have no hope of entering the Dragon Valley next time. Hence, Long Ao must die and this matter cannot be dragged on. With a deep sigh, Long Maoan continued, if we can kill Longao, we can more or less regain some of our dignity. But if we can't, Longao will rise completely. As for our family, we will never be able to rise again. Long Yin was shocked. He did not expect the family head to say this. Longao was the family's Achilles heel. It was either you die or I die. Soon after, Long Maoan went to look for the other three superpowers. They were prepared to work together and invite an illusionary divine warrior each to deal with Dragon Sect. However, the serene dark mansion and ethereal palace did not agree to continue. After all, the serene dark mansion and ethereal palace felt that it was not worth it. After all, the two superpowers did not have any grudges with Longao. They were dealing with Dragon Sect because of the Long family and Imperial City. Now that they had suffered heavy losses, the serene dark mansion and ethereal palace were unwilling to continue. No matter how the Imperial City and the Long family tried to persuade them, the Nether Mansion and the ethereal palace refused to take action. In the end, the Imperial City and the Long family had no choice but to join forces to deal with the Dragon Sect. Although the Imperial City and the Long family had joined hands, neither of the two families were willing to invite the old ancestor to take action. That was because the Longao was too unpredictable. Time and time again, the four powers always thought that they would be able to deal with the Longao. But every time, the result was that they would be slaughtered by the Longao. Because of this, regardless of whether it was the Imperial City or the Class 3 Long family, they were all selfish and did not want to act rashly. If the illusionary divine martial artist were killed, the two families would be in deep trouble. Dragon Sect. On a mountain peak not far from the Dragon Sect, Long Ao and Long Chun stared at each other from afar. Long Chin's intention for coming here was very simple. He wanted to have a fair fight with Long Ao without suppressing his cultivation. Long Chun was still brooding over what happened last time. Although he had forcefully suppressed his cultivation, Long Chun knew that if he didn't use the power of his domain, it would be impossible for him to be Lin Ming's match. Not long ago, Long Chun had received news that Long Ao's cultivation had officially broken through to the World King realm. While he was shocked, Long Chun also wanted to defeat Long Ao fair and square to regain his face. Neither of them had informed the other of this battle. In this battle, as long as Long Ao won, he would be able to replace Long Chun and become the 100th rank on the Dragon Decree. This would be like a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate, reaching the heavens in a single bound. But if Long Ao lost, only death awaited him. It was because of this that the two of them placed great importance on this battle. Long Ao, I have to admit that your talent and potential is the strongest among all the people that I have ever seen. Long Chun wanted to laugh and cry. No matter how it was said, it had only been several months since their last battle. Even so, Long Ao had broken through to the World King realm from an Empyrean. If Long Chun said he wasn't jealous of such a cultivation speed, that would be a lie. Although Long Chun didn't want to admit it, the facts were placed in front of him. Long Ao's talent and potential far surpassed his own. The truth was that in Long Chin's heart, he wanted to kill Long Ao. After all, within the 9 provinces' spirit realm, he was the number 1 person. But now, the number 1 person was Long Ao. Moreover, if he lost, even if he didn't die, he would still have to give up his Dragon Decree ranking. He couldn't lose all his halos. Losing them was the same as dying. Long Chun, no matter who wins or loses in our battle, news of it will not spread out. If I win by some stroke of luck, then you will still be on the Dragon Decree. What I want is not just the 100th rank. Hearing Long Ao's words, Long Chin's complexion froze. If Long Ao had said these words several months ago, he would have ridiculed him, despised him, and looked down on him. But now, without knowing why, Long Chun had a feeling that this youth wasn't boasting at all. It was because of this that Long Chun didn't ridicule him at all. Instead, he nodded to show his respect. In this battle, the grudges between the two sects weren't included. This was a battle between martial artists. Long Ao and Long Chun didn't continue speaking. They glared at each other, their auras slowly rising. It was unknown whether or not they had a tacit understanding, but neither of them summoned their dragon companions. Long Chun was depressed. Last time, he had been ruthlessly beaten up by Longao's dragon companions. From then on, no matter how Long Chun summoned his dragon companions, as long as he declared war, they wouldn't appear. Longao certainly knew what Long Chun meant. He didn't want to defeat Long Chun in terms of dragon companions. Rather, he wanted Long Chun to be defeated fair and square. At this time, the two of them moved. In the blink of an eye, the two of them ruthlessly collided, separated, and then collided once more. After 3 collisions, Long Chun was nearly struck to death. Long Chun was shocked. He never imagined that Longao's mortal body would be so formidable. He didn't dare to be careless. This time, Long Chun chose to release his domain. However, Longao was no longer the Empyrean of the past. Now that his cultivation had risen to the World King realm, he could also release the power of his own domain. In a battle between World Kings, what mattered was whose domain was stronger. Thus, when their domains collided just now, Long Chun had used all of his strength to stimulate the power of his domain, instantly doubling it. But what left Long Chun feeling incredulous was that no matter how much he stimulated his domain, he still wasn't able to control his opponent's domain. Just what was going on here? Longao, I would like to experience that saber strike of yours from the past. Longao didn't respond. This was because Long Chun was only a world king. Let alone saber rend the heavens, rend the earth, Long Chun wouldn't be able to resist it. However, Long Chun clearly didn't give up. He stimulated his domain and said, Longao, if you are a martial artist, then use your strongest strike. I want to see whether or not your strongest saber strike is as fierce as the legends say. Chapter 412. Now that things had come to this, Longao knew that he had to defeat his opponent in order to convince him of his loss. Because of this, the bloodsucker blade appeared in his hand. He looked at Long Chun coldly and said, the power of Skybreak is too great. Once I use it, you will die without a doubt. Why don't you try tearing heaven and earth first? Before Long Chun could speak, Longao's body exploded with a powerful aura. Then, Longao integrated the aura of heaven and earth into the blade light and slashed down. The shocking blade light brought with it a terrifying blade energy. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Long Chun's face was shocked to the extreme. He had only heard about it before and didn't feel much. Now that he experienced it personally, he truly felt the terrifying power of the blade light. Not daring to be careless, Long Chun also used his strongest attack. But now, the shocking blade light instantly split the space apart. The space crack crazily swallowed everything around. Longao's cold voice floated over. Admit defeat or die. One had to admit that Longao was really arrogant. But Longao had the capital to be arrogant. After all, the last 2 styles of the 8 styles of Bloodsucker were extremely powerful. Not to mention a world king. Even a world emperor could be easily killed. Admit defeat? Die? Whether it was admitting defeat or dying, Long Chun did not want to accept it. But when he felt the terrifying power of the blade light, Long Chun was completely stunned. But as a dragon martial artist, and a dragon martial artist on the dragon ranking, he had the dignity of a martial artist. Even if he died in battle, he couldn't admit defeat. It was precisely because of this that Long Chun resolutely used his strongest attack. Stubborn. Longao had no other choice. The blade radiance swallowed Long Chun instantly. However, at this moment, Longao's body moved quickly. He arrived within the blade radiance at lightning speed and forcefully pulled Long Chun out. According to Longao's current strength, using the 7th style of Bloodsucker tearing heaven and earth was more than enough. Although a part of the energy in his body would be drained, it wouldn't be like before. Looking at the young man in front of him, Long Chun's face was filled with disappointment and unwillingness. Letting out a deep sigh, Long Chun suddenly said, Longao, I've lost. From now on, you're officially ranked 100th on the dragon ranking and have entered the dragon ranking. With your talent and potential, you'll definitely be able to enter the top 90 of the dragon ranking within 3 years. 3 years? Hearing Long Chun's words, Longao was very surprised because he never thought that with his cultivation speed, he would need 3 more years to enter the 100th place on the dragon rankings. What did that mean? There was no doubt that the dragon rank was the most valuable rank in the Long family. Longao, you still don't understand the dragon rank, right? Longao nodded. He had a good impression of Long Chen. Although the dragon sect and the rank 3 Long family were enemies, if possible, he really wanted to become friends with this person. The two of them sat at the peak of the mountain and looked at the endless void in the distance. The dragon ranking, the ranking that all the young disciples of the Long family dream of. Anyone who can enter the dragon ranking is a genius. Moreover, as long as they can enter the dragon ranking, Longao didn't say anything and just listened quietly. Longao also had some understanding of the Long family's dragon ranking. Anyone who could enter the dragon ranking was a genius. There were also rumors that as long as a rank 3 Long family disciple or below could enter the dragon ranking, they would be valued and nurtured by the Long family and soar into the sky. Longao, how is my strength? He didn't know why Long Chen would ask such a question, but Longao still answered honestly, you're very strong. You're number 1 in the ordinary domain. No need to comfort me. If you didn't appear, I might still be number 1. But now, you're number 1. Number 1? Longao knew very well that regardless of whether it was him or Long Chen, they might be extremely strong in the Juzhou continent. However, in the eyes of the entire Long family, they were nothing. Even with Long Chen's strength, he was only able to enter the 100th place on the dragon ranking. This already showed how valuable the dragon ranking was. Longao, I can't tell you clearly that with my strength, I don't have the qualifications to enter the dragon ranking. Don't have the qualifications? Longao was confused by Long Chen's words. He didn't know what Long Chen meant. Since he didn't have the qualifications, why was he able to enter the 100th place on the dragon ranking? Long Chen smiled helplessly and said, the Long family's strength is far greater than what you know. Those who can enter the dragon ranking are at least illusionary divine martial artists. Moreover, if they want to rank higher, they have to break through to the Emperor realm. Damn, Longao couldn't help but curse in his heart. This was because Longao had never thought that only illusionary divine martial artists had the qualifications to enter the dragon ranking. Previously, when he and Long Patian were talking about the dragon ranking, Long Patian said that as long as one could break through to the illusionary divine realm, one would have the ability to enter the dragon ranking. Now, it seemed that even illusionary divine martial artists might not be able to enter the top 20 of the dragon ranking, let alone the illusionary divine martial artists. What did this mean? Longao felt that the Long family's strength was unfathomable. It would be even more difficult to enter the dragon ranking. Long Chen, since only illusionary divine martial artists have the qualifications to enter the dragon ranking, how did you manage to enter the dragon ranking? Luck. Luck? That's right. I relied on luck. When the 100th place on the dragon ranking was severely injured, I met him by chance. At that time, he already knew that he was about to die. Therefore, he pestered me and forced me to enter the dragon ranking. Otherwise, with my strength, I wouldn't have been able to enter the dragon ranking. So that was the case. Although Longao was confident in his own strength, he knew his own limits. With his current strength, he could easily deal with a world king. As long as he used the 8th style of blood drinker, he would be able to fight a world king. However, Longao did not have full confidence in fighting an illusionary divine martial artist. In other words, regardless of whether it was him or Long Chen, they did not have the qualifications to enter the dragon ranking. Longao smiled helplessly. Perhaps in the eyes of the world, both of them were very powerful. However, both of them knew that their strength was far from enough. There was still a huge gap between them. Longao, regardless of the grudges between my family and the dragon sect, I would like to be friends with you. What do you think? No problem. We can be considered friends from an exchange of blows. Longao, since we are friends, I would like to give you some advice. If you can, you should let go now. Otherwise, if you really anger the imperial city and your family, the consequences will be unimaginable. The foundation and strength of the 4 overlords of the 9 states region are not to be underestimated. You are far from enough. Longao knew about Long Chen's worries. However, Could he really choose to give up? Chapter 413. Longao knew that now that things had developed to this point, there was no way out for him. After several battles, the grudges between him, the imperial city, and the third-rank Long family had reached the point where they were like fire and water. It was either you die or I die. Especially recently, he had killed 4 world emperors and 40 world kings. What kind of logic was this? It would be strange if the 4 great powers were willing to let him go. Longao was already prepared to counter soldiers with arms, water with earthwear. Seeing that Longao did not speak, Longchen already knew what Longao was thinking. He shrugged helplessly and said, "Since you've made up your mind, I won't force you. I only hope that you can promise me one thing for the sake of your friend." Longao nodded. There was no need for Longchen to say anything. Longao had already guessed it. "I promise you that no matter what happens in the future, I will not destroy the Long family." "Thank you." Longchen smiled. Although this sounded a little funny, he did not know why, but he had a feeling that the young man in front of him would definitely be able to flatten his family in the future. Although he did not want to see it, that day would eventually come. "Longao, the family has already told the Long family about you." "Long family?" Hearing that Long Maoan had already told the Long family that he was a dragon warrior, Longao became a little dignified. No matter what, the Long family's strength and foundation was not something that the third-rank Long family could compare to. If the Long family wanted to deal with him, how could he resist? Longao did not dare to imagine. But what he could not understand was why the Long family did not want to deal with him after knowing about this. Long family had a rule that no Long family disciple below the 3rd rank could become a dragon warrior. Once discovered, they would be killed without mercy. Long Chun seemed to be able to guess Longao's thoughts and smiled helplessly. "Longao, you should be fine for a short period of time." "Why is that?" Longao became even more curious, but he chose to believe Long Chin. After all, Long Chun was the #1 person in a 3rd-rank family. There were many things that others might not know, but Long Chun knew. Long family members would have already made a decision if they were to live or die. After thinking for a while, Long Chun continued, "But Longao, you're too unpredictable. In less than a year, you've grown to this level. If nothing unexpected happens, I believe the Long family has already begun to pay attention to you. They just want to see your potential." "What do you mean?" Longao became even more curious. Could it be that the Long family did not intend to deal with him? Long family is not like the rumors outside, where no matter who it is, as long as they become a dragon warrior, they will be killed without mercy. Is that not the case? Shaking his head, Long Chun said, "Of course not, unless you enter the Dragon Valley. Otherwise, the Dragon Valley is not the only place in the world with giant dragons. Once you become a dragon warrior, the Long family will observe you. Those with good talent and potential will directly enter the Long family and be heavily nurtured. If not, the Long family will take back the giant dragon and leave the disciple to fend for himself." So that was the case. It seemed that the rumors were not all true. Longao was not a fool and understood what Long Chun meant. It was very simple. The Long family already knew that he was a dragon warrior. The reason why they were not willing to come out was because they wanted to observe him and see if he was worth nurturing. If his talent and potential really caught the eye of the Long family, then his luck would come. Not only would he be heavily nurtured by the Long family, but he would also be able to soar to the sky. In the future, would the 4 great powers still dare to deal with him? Once the Long family determined that his talent and potential were not good enough, then he would be considered unlucky. Not only would he have to take back his dragon companion, he would not even know if he was alive or dead. At the end of the day, everything still depended on talent and strength. Longao was even more aware of a problem. No matter how strong he was, in front of the Long family, he would always be a chess piece. If they wanted to throw him away, if they wanted to use him, they could use him. Looking at Longao beside him, Long Chen smiled and said, "Are you not satisfied?" Longao did not hide anything and said, "That's right, I am not satisfied. The Long family is too overbearing. Not to mention other things, just the Dragon Valley alone. Why can only rank 3 and above disciples of the Long family enter, and not rank 4 and below? Rank 3 Long family? With a bitter smile, Long Chun said, Longao, let me tell you the truth. Even rank 3 disciples of the Long family are not qualified to enter the Dragon Valley. Why is that? Hearing Long Chen's words, Longao was very surprised. After all, it was rumored that the Long family had a rule. As long as one was a rank 3 or above disciple of the Long family, they would be qualified to enter the Dragon Valley and find their companion to become a dragon warrior. If that was the case, why couldn't rank 3 disciples of the Long family enter the Dragon Valley? If that was the case, how could Long Chun become a dragon warrior? With another bitter smile, Long Chun said helplessly, Longao, you may not know, but the Long family will publicly select disciples to enter the Dragon Valley every year. The rank 1 and rank 2 Long family have a quota, and the remaining quota will be decided through martial arts. Does the Long family not have a rank 3 disciple? No. In all these years, the family has sent a few people to enter the Dragon Valley, but in the end, no more than 5 people were able to become dragon warriors. As for me, I was lucky and barely made it into the dragon ranking. So the Long family made an exception and gave the rank 3 Long family a quota as a reward. Hearing this, Longao almost fainted. He had always thought that rank 3 disciples of the Long family were qualified to enter the Dragon Valley and become dragon warriors. Now, it seemed that only the rank 1 and rank 2 Long family could control the Dragon Valley, but the real power to decide was in the hands of the rank 1 Long family. Longao was looking forward to Long Chong's growth. After all, Long Chong had the Dragon Clan's treasure, the Divine Dragon Pearl. If he could fuse with the Divine Dragon Pearl, there was no doubt that Long Chong would become the new dragon god of the dragon sect. As long as Long Chong could become the dragon god, Longao had already decided to take the Dragon Valley from the Long family. In the future, his family would be the new Long family. Longao, originally, I was ranked rank 100 on the dragon ranking and had the opportunity to go to the Long family for a baptism, but now, you have this opportunity. Baptism? Longao had no idea what Long Chun was talking about, so he asked, what is a baptism? Longao, you may not know, but the Long family has the Dragon Clan's ancestral hall. Any outstanding disciple can enter the Dragon Clan's ancestral hall for a baptism. According to legend, after the baptism, if you are lucky, not only will your strength increase greatly, you can even obtain a natural ability. Chapter 414. Innate Divine Ability? Regarding the innate divine ability that Long Chun spoke of, Longao did not know what it was at all. Long Chun, what is an innate divine ability? Longao, you might not know, but do you know the relationship between our Long family and the Dragon Valley? Longao shook his head. He knew that the Long family and the Dragon Valley were allies. In the entire Martial Heaven continent, only the disciples of the Long family could enter the Dragon Valley and become dragon martial artists. The old ancestor of the Dragon Clan was a peerless genius. He appeared out of nowhere in the ancient times and became a dragon warrior with the old ancestor of the Dragon Clan. They swept across the world and looked down on the firmament. There was no need for Long Chun to say anything. Longao naturally knew how powerful the Long Clan's old ancestor and the Dragon Clan's old ancestor were. In the ancient era, the two ancestors were accidentally defeated and heavily injured. In order to recover and become stronger, the two ancestors gave each other their innate blood essence. Unexpectedly, the two ancestors instantly broke through their limits, reaching unprecedented heights. Fuck. Longao cursed inside. It was because Longao had never thought that with the powerful strength of the two old ancestors, there would actually be someone who could injure the two old ancestors. Just by thinking about it, one could guess how powerful that person was. Longao seemed to have guessed something. However, after breaking through their limits, the two ancestors were killed by the heavenly Daos and died. As for the Long family's bloodline, it slowly faded away. The heavenly Daos? Longao had some understanding of the heavenly Daos. The heavenly Daos were the consciousness of heaven and earth. They were ethereal, and no one knew whether the heavenly Daos existed or not. But now, It seemed that the heavenly Daos really did exist. Longao, when the ancestor obtained the dragon race's ancestor's blood, he actually managed to reproduce an innate divine ability. That's the so-called innate divine ability. From then on, as long as you are a disciple of the Long family, there is a 1 in 1,000 chance of you being able to reproduce an innate divine ability. I still don't understand. It's very simple. An innate divine ability is like devouring. As long as you can reproduce the devouring divine ability, you can devour other people's blood. Do you understand? Nodding his head, Longao already understood. As time passes, the bloodline of the Long family's disciples becomes thinner and thinner. As a result, fewer disciples are able to reproduce an innate divine ability. Each disciple who reproduces an innate divine ability is a treasure of the Long family. Thinking of the innate divine ability he could reproduce, Long Chen's face was filled with yearning. The baptism of the dragon race. Back then, the ancestor's ancestor, the primordial divine dragon, was incomparably powerful. His bloodline was even more terrifying. Because of this, disciples who originally had no hope of producing an innate divine ability would have a higher chance of producing an innate divine ability as long as they could enter the ancestral hall for the baptism. Long. Waving his hand, Longao didn't give Long Chen any chance to speak. He said, "This matter is settled. I won't go to the Long family." Looking deeply at Longao, Long Chen was absolutely unwilling to give up this opportunity. He nodded and didn't continue to be polite. After all, this opportunity was originally his. More importantly, as long as he could go to the Long family and undergo the baptism, if he was lucky, once he reproduced an innate divine ability, not only would his strength double, but he would also soar to the sky. All right, I'll leave first. I hope you can develop quickly. Longao, I believe that you will be able to reproduce an innate divine ability that belongs to you. I'm looking forward to it. Looking at Long Chen, who had already left, Longao learned a lot about the Long family. Innate divine ability. Inside the dragon seal space. Long Fu, do you know about the Long family and the dragon race's innate divine ability? Longao knew very well that the dragon seal was an ancient supreme artifact. He definitely knew about the secrets of the Long family and the dragon race. Just as expected. Master, I know about the Long family and the 2 old ancestors of the dragon race. I have to admit that they were the most powerful existences in the world. Unfortunately, they provoked the heavenly Tao and were mercilessly killed. As for the innate divine ability that you just mentioned, it's actually a special ability that can be reproduced with the help of the dragon race's blood. It's very terrifying. There are many types of innate divine abilities. Yes, the type of innate divine ability that a dragon warrior can reproduce depends on the blood of his dragon partner and the mutation. Long Fu, can I reproduce an innate divine ability? Longao was looking forward to this, but he wasn't willing to go to the Long family and undergo the baptism. Master, I originally wanted to wait for your cultivation to break through to the great emperor realm before helping you reproduce an innate divine ability. But since you already know, we can start now. Among the innate divine abilities that a dragon warrior can reproduce, the most powerful one is the innate divine ability that the Long family's old ancestor and the immemorial divine dragon produced. What innate divine ability? Innate divine ability, Dragon Roar. Dragon Roar? Master, it will be very difficult for you and Long Chong to reproduce the Dragon Roar divine ability. However, we have the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror. As long as we fuse them together with your blood, I have 80% confidence that we can help you reproduce the Dragon Roar divine ability. Longao was overjoyed. After all, he already knew what an innate divine ability represented. Master, the innate divine ability Dragon Roar is to change the flow of time, and it can also stop time. In the world, the most powerful force is not the power of lightning tribulation, but the power of time. Only by mastering the power of time can one become the most powerful martial artist in the world. If the Long family's old ancestor and the immemorial divine dragon hadn't shown off too much, I believe they wouldn't have provoked the heavenly Tao and brought about a fatal disaster. The power of time. Longao handed the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror to Long Fu. According to Long Fu, if he wanted to reproduce the innate divine ability Dragon Roar, he must first refine these two treasures. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't be able to do this. Only the blood pool in the Dragon Roar space could refine the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror. He didn't know how long it would take, but the surprise in Longao's heart was self-evident. Since ancient times, he was probably the first person who could reproduce the so-called innate divine ability without entering the Long clan's ancestral hall for baptism. Master, exchange all of your blood with Long Chong's. Only then can you reproduce the innate divine ability. Nodding, Longao didn't hesitate and immediately began to exchange blood essence with Long Chong. In a short 2 hours, the process was completed. All that was left was to wait for the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror to be refined, and then he could officially begin to reproduce the innate divine ability. Chapter 415. Star Cloud City. There were no longer 2 empires in Tianzhou. There were only countless small countries. There was no royal family in Star Cloud Kingdom. There were only 5 families fighting for supremacy. The Ouyang family was the strongest among them. Star Cloud City, Ouyang family, main hall. At this moment, Ouyang Feng and Ouyang Fei were extremely depressed. They did not know where a super force came from. It was extremely powerful and wanted to annihilate all the families. The other 4 families were afraid of the Sword Sect. They all retreated from Star Cloud City. The Sword Sect did not want to let go of the Ouyang family. In just 5 days, over 1,000 disciples of the Ouyang clan were slaughtered. Not a single one was spared. The remaining servants were also killed. Only Ouyang Fei and Ouyang Feng were left alive. Fei, if we did not deal with Longao, I believe the Ouyang family would have become the Star Cloud Kingdom. Hearing his father's words, Ouyang Fei sighed deeply. After all, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Father, it's too late. Yes, it's unbelievable that Longao could grow to this level. Fei, shaking his head, Ouyang Fei did not want to continue. He did betray his friend and let him down. Letting out a deep sigh, Ouyang Fei had already accepted his fate. After all, he chose this path himself. He could not blame or complain about others. Ouyang father and son, come out and accept your death. Hearing the voice, both Ouyang Fei and Ouyang Feng's faces changed. The two stood up at the same time. Their worried faces were now calm. After all, death was in front of them. No matter what they did, the result was already decided. Since that was the case, why not face it calmly? Outside the main hall, Sword Sect Master Tong Zhan, Junior Master Tong Ling, 8 law protectors, and 4 great elders were all gathered. The Sword Sect had waited 10 years for this day. Tong Zhan, you're finally here. Looking at Tong Zhan, Ouyang Feng smiled bitterly. It turned out that Tong Zhan and Ouyang Feng were as close as brothers in the past. Because of a woman, the two of them turned against each other and ended up fighting. Ouyang Feng even assassinated Tong Zhan and obtained this woman in the end. Ha ha ha, Ouyang Feng, you despicable and shameless villain. Back then, you tried to assassinate me. If it wasn't for my good luck, I believe I would have died long ago. Ouyang Feng, the winner takes all. Since you have lost, you should choose to kill yourself. At this moment, Tong Zhan was no longer the same as before. His strength was that of a Unification Realm ancient martial art practitioner. The 4 elders and 8 protectors below him were all powerful ancient martial art practitioners. With the strength of the Sword Sect, if they wanted to destroy the Ouyang family, it would be a matter of minutes. Both sides were well aware of this. It was precisely because of this that Ouyang Feng and his son chose to give up on resisting, because they knew that even if they resisted, they might suffer even greater humiliation. So, why did they have to do this? Kill. At Tong Zhan's command, the 8 guardians behind him all rushed out. However, they left quickly and returned even faster. Screams rang out as the 8 guardians fell heavily to the ground. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Tong Zhan's face was extremely gloomy. As a Unification Realm warrior, Tong Zhan naturally knew how terrifying the young man who suddenly appeared was. He was at least at the same level as him, a Unification Realm warrior. When did a Unification Realm warrior appear in the Ouyang family? Brother Long, seeing Long Ao suddenly appear, Ouyang Fei smiled bitterly. He felt a little guilty towards this friend of his. It was precisely because of this that Ouyang Fei never expected that Long Ao would suddenly appear at this time. You and I have always been friends. I can't just stand by and watch you die. Long Ao, who appeared in a timely manner, came specially this time because the current dragon sect was no longer the same as before. Just the outer sect disciples alone were more than 10,000 people scattered all over the Tianzhou. Therefore, Long Ao was the first to know everything that happened in Star Cloud City. Although Ouyang Fei had wronged him in the past, Long Ao still saw Ouyang Fei as a friend. One mistake could not completely deny a person. Who are you? How dare you stop my father from taking revenge? As the young master of the sword sect, Tong Ling was a girl, but her cultivation was not low. She had already reached the fusion realm and was only one step away from officially becoming a unification realm warrior. Tong Ling was a natural beauty. Her oval face, willowy eyebrows, and cherry lips were simply flawless. Especially when paired with her excellent figure, she was almost perfect. Ouyang Fei is my friend. No matter what grudges you have between you, let's write them off from now on. How about it? What right do you have? Dragon sect? I don't know. Tong Zhan waved his hand to stop his angry daughter. His daughter did not know, but how could Tong Zhan not know what the dragon sect represented? If one were to ask who was in the limelight now, it would definitely be the master of the dragon sect, Long Ao. May I know who you are in the dragon sect? Long Ao. Hearing the other party's identity, Tong Zhan directly sat on the ground. His face was pale and his body was on the verge of collapsing. He never thought that the master of the dragon sect would come personally. This time, he was in big trouble. Not to mention taking revenge. Whether he could even leave this place alive was a big problem. Seeing her father like this, Tong Ling was very curious. It turned out that Tong Ling had been cultivating with an expert and had only recently returned to her father's side. She knew almost nothing about the matters of the 9 states. Because of this, Tong Ling could not understand why her father would be so frightened when he heard the other party's name. Could it be that Long Ao was very powerful? So it's the master of the dragon sect. Sorry for the disrespect. Forcefully suppressing the shock in his body, Tong Zhan forced himself to stand up with a bitter smile. If he had known that Ouyang Feng had such a backer, he would not have come even if he was beaten to death. Master Tong, it's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? You've already destroyed the Ouyang family. I think this matter should end here. There's no need to kill everyone. What do you say? No way. Who do you think you are? How dare you interfere in the matters of the dragon sect? Do you think that just because you're Long Ao, you're the sky and the earth? Our dragon sect must listen to you. My great aunt, of all people you could provoke, you had to provoke this little fiend. Everyone in the sword sect knew about Long Ao's deeds. Offending Long Ao was like offending a killing god. The sword sect was done for. Tong Zhan didn't even dare to say anything. He just foolishly looked at his daughter. As for the other people in the sword sect, they were all terrified. Even the master didn't dare to say anything, let alone them. Long Ao, don't think that just because you have some strength, you're invincible. I can clearly tell you that in my eyes, you're nothing. I challenge you. Do you dare accept? Chapter 416. Challenging Long Ao? Looking at Tong Linger in front of them, everyone wondered if Tong Linger's brain had been flooded with water or if her head had been kicked by a donkey. Did Tong Linger not see Tong Zhan's expression just now? Fear, worry. Any smart person would be able to guess that Tong Zhan was very wary of Long Ao, to the point of being terrified. However, Tong Linger didn't care about this at all. In her eyes, she was a genius and her master was an expert among experts. Why would she be afraid of a young brat? If Tong Linger knew about Long Ao's deeds, would she still be like this?
Linger. Don't be presumptuous.
Master Long, I'm really sorry. My daughter is immature. Please don't take offense like a child. Seeing her father being so humble, Tong Linger was completely speechless. She waved her hand and snorted, saying, Longao, I'm officially challenging you now. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Without waiting for Tong Zhan to speak, Longao nodded and said indifferently, If you can force me out of this circle, you win. Longao used his foot to draw a circle around himself. It wasn't very big. As long as he casually took a step, he believed that he would be forced out of the circle. I won't fight back. F***CK. Everyone cursed in their hearts. Although everyone knew that Longao was strong, was it possible to not fight back and not leave the circle? What if I win? Leave immediately. I won't interfere in the grudges between you two. No, if you lose, you have to kill yourself. Hearing Tong Linger's words, everyone who had relaxed became nervous again. However, since things had already come to this point, no one continued to say anything. Sure, but what if you lose? Longao had a good impression of Tong Linger. After all, this kind of girl wasn't scheming. She was very pure and talented. It was just that she was too arrogant and didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If I lose, you can do whatever you want with me. Tong Linger was extremely confident. Before Longao could prepare himself, Tong Linger's fist had already smashed towards him. Everyone had high hopes for Tong Linger. If Longao fought back, there was no doubt that Tong Linger would have no chance at all. However, Longao stood still. No matter how strong Longao was, it would be difficult for him to block this move. Even so, Tong Linger's punch still couldn't hit Longao. She couldn't even enter the circle. She stomped her foot and said angrily, Longao, you said you wouldn't fight back. Shrugging helplessly, Longao smiled and said, I really didn't fight back. Everyone saw with their own eyes that Longao really did not fight back. Tong Linger almost exploded in anger because she had already guessed that the other party was very strong. At the very least, she was not his match. Humph, you. At this time, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from Longao's body and fiercely suppressed Tong Linger. Everyone was shocked, including Tong Zhan, because no one thought that Longao would make a move as soon as he said he would. He didn't even give any notice in advance. Master Long, my daughter doesn't know any better. Please be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to her level. Tong Zhan was terrified because Longao's strength was too strong. Even if he attacked, only death would await him. He had already cursed Ouyang Feng's 18 generations of ancestors. F***CK. Where did Ouyang Feng find Longao? I want to tell you something. Don't be too arrogant because you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant. Do you understand? Longao did not intend to kill Tong Linger. Otherwise, with Tong Linger's strength, she wouldn't be able to resist Longao's aura suppression. Longao only wanted to teach her a lesson. Tong Linger gritted her teeth and persevered. She stared at Longao in front of her. She had to admit that Tong Linger was indeed strong. Nodding his head in appreciation, Longao controlled his strength while suppressing the aura. However, at this moment, a powerful force suddenly enveloped the world and directly separated Longao and Tong Linger. Longao didn't dare to be careless. He knew that the owner of this aura was very strong. At least with his current strength, he wasn't a match for the other party. Even so, Longao immediately released the aura of heaven and earth to resist this terrifying force. You're not bad. Looking at the black-clothed old lady who suddenly appeared, Longao was shocked. However, he was also delighted because the old lady was none other than Yu Yin's master.
Master.
Master? Hearing Tong Linger call the old lady master, Longao was a little surprised. If that was the case, wouldn't Tong Linger be Yu Yin's junior or senior sister? This world was really small. Presumptuous. With your strength, don't you know that recklessness will lead to death? Is this how your master usually teaches you? Tong Linger was very afraid of the old lady. She pouted her lips but didn't dare to say a word.
Senior.
And you're just a piece of trash. Back then, when I taught you martial skills, you needed so much time to take revenge. You no longer have the qualifications. From now on, your grudges with the Ouyang clan are written off. Understood, senior. Tong Zhan wasn't angry at all. It was as if it was a matter of course. No matter what, the old lady's strength was there. Not to mention him, even Longao might not be a match for the old lady. Senior, I wonder how Yuan is now? Who are you? Is my senior sister's name something you can call? Tong Linger originally didn't like Longao. Now that she had her master's support, she was even more unscrupulous. If it wasn't because she was weaker than the old lady, she believed that Tong Linger would have attacked long ago. Presumptuous. The black-clothed granny appeared to be angry, but anyone could tell that she doted on Tong Linger a lot. It was probably because of this that Tong Linger was fearless and only chuckled. It turned out that Tong Linger acted rashly this time, not because she was impulsive or stupid, but because of two reasons. First, she knew that the other party was Longao and would definitely not kill her. Second, her master was in the dark and couldn't watch her die. That was why Tong Linger dared to act. From this, it could be seen that Tong Linger was an extremely smart woman. Longao, I already know everything you've done during this time. Very good, but I still have to tell you that with your strength, you're still not qualified. So you have to work hard. I don't want Yuan to be a piece of trash. If you don't want to be a piece of trash, work hard to improve your strength. Chapter 417. Not qualified? Am I not qualified now? Senior, I would like to ask, when will I be qualified? Titled Great Emperor. Longao's heart sank. Of course, he knew what the titled Great Emperor that the black-clothed granny spoke of represented. He had not even broken through to the illusionary divine stage, let alone the titled Great Emperor. Furthermore, there were the 10 realms of Great Emperor above the illusionary divine stage. It was not easy to break through to the titled Great Emperor realm. No confidence? Longao looked deeply at the old lady in front of him. He did not know what she meant. He also did not know where Yuan was and whether she was doing well. However, he could not do anything about it. After all, Yuan was in the hands of the old lady. Yes, but I would like to know how Yuan is doing now. Yuan is very good. Her cultivation is much higher than yours. I'll say it again. If you want to see Yuan again, you have to work hard. Otherwise, you will want to see Yuan again for the rest of your life. Linger, I will give you 3 months. After 3 months, you have to go back with me. Seeing her master disappear, Linger stuck out her tongue with a happy face. She turned to look at Longao and said with a smile, Longao, did you miss senior sister a lot? Where is your senior sister? Longao was 100% sure that Tong Linger knew where Yuan was. This was a good opportunity. After all, the old lady in black was not around. Stupid girl. If you dare to tell me where your senior sister is, I will break your legs. Try me if you don't believe me. Hearing her master's words, Tong Linger stuck out her tongue and shrugged her shoulders. Longao, it's not that I don't want to tell you. It's my master who doesn't want me to. Tong Linger did not continue to stay and left with her father. Brother Long, thank you. Looking at Longao, who was in front of him, he did not feel guilty at all. This was because the Ouyang family had brought this upon themselves. They could not blame anyone else. What are your plans? I don't know. If you don't mind, I would like to invite you to join the Dragon Sect and help me deal with the Outer Sect matters. What do you think? It would be a lie to say that they did not want to join the Dragon Sect's Outer Sect. After all, the current Dragon Sect was no longer the same as before. Its strength was comparable to the 4 major forces. Once the 2 of them joined the Dragon Sect, the Ouyang family might be able to develop in the future. Brother Long, I'm sorry. Forget it. You didn't make a big mistake back then. I still have things to do. The 2 of you should immediately set off for the Dragon Sect. I've already given my instructions. Big Brother Ouyang, I'll leave the matters of the Outer Sect to you. Both Ouyang Feng and Ouyang Fei nodded heavily. They didn't say anything else. They didn't say anything. Longao left the Ouyang family. This time, Longao was able to bury the hatchet. In fact, it was very kind of him. If he hadn't rushed back to his family in time, his family might have been destroyed by the Ouyang family. However, Ouyang Fei had indeed helped him in the past. Longao was a person who could clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. He also knew that sometimes Ouyang Fei had no choice. After all, as a member of the royal family, he had to do his part well. Star Cloud City, the headquarters of the sword sect. Longao's sudden arrival gave Tong Zhan a fright. He immediately stood up to welcome him. Master Long, may I know why you've come this time? I'm looking for Tong Ling. As expected, Tong Zhan had already guessed the purpose of Longao's visit. He nodded. With the black-clothed senior's deterrence, he believed that Longao wouldn't dare to mess around. It was precisely because of this that Tong Zhan brought Longao to the backyard. Master Long, you can go by yourself. Nodding, Longao stepped into the backyard. The entire layout was very comfortable. It could be said that it was elegant and refined. Tong Ling was sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea while admiring the beautiful scenery around her. You're here. Tong Ling seemed to have already guessed that Longao would come. She wasn't surprised at all. She pointed to the seat beside her. Her meaning was very clear. Longao was very surprised because the Tong Ling at this moment was completely different from the Tong Ling he saw earlier. It was as if she was a completely different person. I want to know the whereabouts of Yin. Why should I tell you? Longao, I already know about the matter between you and senior sister. Master is very satisfied with your performance, but I'm not. Do you know why? How would I know what you're thinking? If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to know the whereabouts of Yin, Longao wouldn't have come at all. Master has always been very biased and left the best things for senior sister. But what about me? I have nothing. Why should I? Tell me, why should I? Regarding this matter, Longao still couldn't figure out until now. Why did the black-clothed granny have to accept Yin as a disciple? Was there no one else in the world? Even if Yin's talent wasn't bad, how big was the world? It seemed too easy to find a few talented disciples. After venting a few words, Tong Ling seemed to feel a lot more comfortable. She smiled and said, Longao, Master has already said before that you're not qualified yet. I'll tell you clearly that I can't tell you the whereabouts of senior sister. I can only tell you one thing. Our sect is very powerful. It's not something you can imagine. How powerful is it? Since you're a member of the Long family, you should know about the Long family, right? Nonsense. Longao didn't even bother to answer. He didn't know why the other party involved the Long family. I can tell you now. My sect is on the same level as the Long family. Ask yourself, with your current strength, even if you add the Dragon sect, are you qualified? His heart skipped a beat. Longao had countless guesses before, but he still didn't expect that Yin, the black-clothed granny, and Tong Ling, sect would be so powerful that it could contend against the Long family. What did this mean? However, one had to know that the Long family was one of the most powerful existences in the world. There was no need to talk about their strength and foundation. One could imagine how powerful Yin's sect was to be able to contend against the Long family. Longao could completely imagine how powerful Yin's sect was. His heart sank to the extreme. Seeing Longao's expression, Tong Ling chuckled and said, Did you lose confidence after hearing this? If that's the case, then senior sister has really misjudged you. Sigh. Tong Ling sighed deeply. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. No matter what, I won't choose to give up. Tell me, where's your sect? Ha ha ha, not bad. However, Longao, I have to tell you something now. You have to be mentally prepared. Senior sister is now the most popular person in the sect, and she's so beautiful. There are many people chasing after her, and all of them are stronger than you. I'm afraid that senior sister won't be able to hold it in and abandon the old. Chapter 418. That's impossible. Yin wouldn't do that. Longao chose to believe in Yin completely. 10 years of persistence. Not only him, but Yin had also persisted for 10 years. Not only did Yin persist for 10 years for him, but she was also willing to ruin her appearance for him. Would such a woman like her be fickle in love? Without a doubt, it was impossible. Longao, in this world, anything is possible. Senior sister is different from before and has seen more of the world. Do you still think that senior sister is that innocent little girl from before? Before Longao could speak, Tong Ling continued, even if senior sister is a faithful woman, the sect won't agree. Why? At this moment, Longao's face was extremely cold, but he still forced himself to endure because he didn't know what sect Yu Yin's sect was and where it was located. The sect is nurturing senior sister, so of course, they will make use of her. As far as I know, the master is making arrangements for senior sister. The other party's strength is not something you can imagine. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he understood what Tong Ling meant. The other party was very powerful. Combined with the words of the black-clothed old lady, Longao could almost guess something. Could the other party be a titled Great Emperor? If that was the case, then he was in big trouble. No matter what, he had to find Yu Yin. Longao kept telling himself that no matter what difficulties or dangers he encountered, even if there was a sea of fire in front of him, he would jump in without hesitation. If you don't leave me, I will stay by your side in life and death. Is this what you said to senior sister? That's right. Back then, when senior sister told me, I was really envious. I envied your relationship, but when I came to Tianzhou and found out about your actions, I was really disappointed. I was really disappointed in you. Longao, do you know why? Needless to say, Longao knew why. Aoshue. It would be strange if Tong Ling did not know that he had broken into the Ghost King's sect alone and snatched the bride in front of everyone. Longao could even imagine that Yu Yin had probably already known about this matter. Because of this, Longao couldn't wait to find Yu Yin and explain things to her face to face. Longao, you keep saying that you will never leave my senior sister, but for a woman, you fought against the Ghost King sect and the Golden Sun sect. I want to ask you, are you worthy of my senior sister? Sorry. Longao had always felt guilty towards Yu Yin. No matter what the reason was, he was wrong. What was wrong was wrong. What was the point of saying more? Back then, Longao was indeed loyal to Yu Yin. As he said, if you don't leave, I will stay by your side in life and death. However, Longao could not control what happened with Aoshue. Was he not responsible for Aoshue? Longao knew that in this life, there were two women he could never leave. One was a woman who had been with him for almost 10 years. The other was a woman he had to be responsible for. Both women were equally important. Longao, since you don't deny it, I want to ask you, how will you face my senior sister? Although Tong Ling was very unhappy that Yu Yin had stolen her limelight, the two of them had a very good relationship. Because of this, Tong Ling seemed to be fighting for Yu Yin. Standing up, Tong Ling said leisurely, ever since my senior sister was brought to the sect by Master, she has been thinking about you every day. Apart from cultivating, she has been thinking about you. She looks very haggard. No matter who chases after her, senior sister has always had you in her heart. Longao did not speak. He only listened quietly. I originally thought that the person my senior sister liked was an amazing man. Therefore, when Master came out this time, I cried and begged Master to come out and meet the legendary Longao. However, hearing about you is not as good as meeting you in person. You have disappointed me. I only want to know Yu Yin's whereabouts. Haha, Longao, you don't have the right to know. Just as Master said, unless you can reach the titled Great Emperor realm. However, with your talent, you definitely won't be able to do so within 3 years. However, within 3 years, my senior sister will definitely get married. At that time, even if you find her, what's the use? Forcibly suppressing his anger, Longao knew that he could not be impulsive. In the end, he suppressed his anger with reason. Longao, although what you did was wrong, I don't want to see my senior sister unhappy. I'll say it again. With your current strength, even if you find my senior sister, what can you do? It would be better for you to cultivate properly and try to reach the titled Great Emperor realm as quickly as possible. Only then will you have the right to see her. I will. Turning to leave, Longao didn't continue talking nonsense. He realized that if he didn't break through to the titled Great Emperor realm, Tong Ling, or wouldn't tell him Yu Yin's whereabouts. Looking at his departing figure, Tong Ling suddenly asked Master, if senior sister knew that we lied to him like this, she would definitely be unhappy. The black-robed old woman's figure suddenly appeared. Sighing deeply, she said, your senior sister's physique is rarely seen in 10,000 years. Once she cultivates, she will be 100 times stronger than an ordinary person. I'm very confident that in 10 years, your senior sister will become the most dazzling person in the sect, and even in the Tianwu continent. Tong Ling didn't say anything. She really wasn't convinced, but she had to admit that her master was right. Her senior sister's physique was 1 in 10,000. Ling I know you've suffered a lot, but don't worry, I won't abandon you. Once I'm done with your senior sister's matter, I'll definitely do my best to nurture you.
Master.
Waving her hand, the black-robed old woman's expression was a bit unsightly. She said helplessly, your senior sister's physique is very special. If she can obtain the help of other sects, she will definitely be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. But if she follows this brat, it will only backfire. So no matter what happens, don't let him get close to your senior sister. It was better to tear down 10 temples than to tear down a marriage. Tong Ling really didn't want to separate her senior sister and Longao, but she couldn't disobey her master's orders. In truth, Tong Ling was very clear that her master had her own difficulties. Ling are you going to return to the sect with me, or are you going to stay here? Leave? Stay? If you don't leave, I'll be by your side in life and death. She didn't know why, but when she thought of this sentence, Tong Ling's heart trembled. Raising her head, she looked at her master and said, I want to stay for a few more days to accompany my father. I'll go back by myself later. Master, you don't have to worry about me. All right, be careful. Your strength is enough to look down on the Jiuzhou continent, but don't be careless. After all, there's always a sky beyond the sky, and a person beyond a person, understand? Looking at her master who was gradually disappearing into the distance, Tong Linger's body suddenly released a terrifying aura. If Longao was here, he would definitely be shocked speechless because Tong Linger was not a fusion martial artist at all, but the so-called Great Emperor martial artist. Chapter 419. After leaving the Sword Sect, Longao did not leave Star Cloud City immediately. While saving Ouyang Fei and his son, he had unintentionally bumped into Yu Yin's master and junior sister. This could be considered an accident within an accident. Longao knew that if he wanted to meet Yu Yin and deal with all external factors, there was only one way. That was to raise his own strength. Titled Emperor? Longao chuckled. He knew that as long as he could break through to the Emperor's state, even if he could not fight with a titled Emperor, he could at least leave this place safely. Emperor's state. There was only one thing he had to do now, and that was to break through to the Emperor's state as fast as he could. Right now, his cultivation base was only at the World King level. Next, he would have to work towards becoming a World Emperor. Longao was clear that he possessed the soul of the nine-tailed godly fox. Once he absorbed all of it, he could definitely reach the pinnacle of the World Emperor state. However, Longao would not do that. The reason was simple. Longao was certain that there would definitely be illusionary divine stage existences within the four major forces. If the four major forces were to send out illusionary divine stage martial artists to attack the sect, how would the sect defend against them? It was because of this that Longao was prepared to make use of the soul of the nine-tailed godly fox to create 5 illusionary divine stage martial artists. At the very least, he would not be helpless when the 4 major forces attacked. The soul of the nine-tailed godly fox was enough to support the 5 emperors to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Hee. Since you're here, come on out. Looking at the sudden appearance of the evil demon emperor, Longao shrugged his shoulders helplessly. What do you want? I've already said that if you don't hand over the little brat and the dragon seal, I won't leave you even for a single day. I'll pester you to death. I don't believe that you won't be annoyed. Hee. Longao hated the laughter of the evil demon emperor the most. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Even if he did not have the strength to fight against the evil demon emperor, the fact that the evil demon emperor had taken over Long Jing's body meant that Longao did not dare to make a move. What if he hurt Long Jing? Towards Long Jing, Longao still felt guilty. Evil demon emperor, I've already said that I will not hand over the little brat and the dragon seal. You had better give up. Hee so. To think that you can still be so calm. Not bad, not bad. Without waiting for Longao to speak, the evil demon emperor continued, Little brat, you are really not bad. Whether it is your talent or strength, just this calmness and perseverance alone will give you boundless prospects in the future. It's still the same words. It's fine if you don't want to hand it over. Take me as your master. Screw you. Longao couldn't take it anymore and exploded, being pestered by the evil demon emperor again and again. No matter how good a person's temper was, there would be a time when he would explode. But in the end, Longao endured it. Reason told him that he couldn't act blindly without thinking. Otherwise, not only Long Jing, even he himself wouldn't be a match for the nefarious devil emperor. Ignoring the evil demon emperor, Longao turned around and walked towards the left. Longao knew that with his current strength, it was impossible for him to be a match for the evil demon. Rather than humiliating himself, it was better to quickly increase his strength. There would be a day when he would rely on his own strength to kill the evil demon and save Long Jing. Hee. The evil demon emperor laughed coldly and disappeared. As a titled emperor, even if the evil demon emperor could not match up to the strength of the evil demon emperor himself, he could still guess how horrifying the strength of the evil demon emperor was. Ouyang Fei and his father had already left Star Cloud City and headed towards the dragon sect. Longao had already made up his mind. He would hand over all matters regarding the outer sect of the dragon sect to Ouyang Fei. This would be the so-called Sin City in the future. Longao had no doubts about Ouyang Fei's management capabilities. After all, Ouyang Fei was the crown prince of the royal family. His management skills were way better than Longao's. Longao stayed in Star Cloud City for 3 days. It could be considered as 3 days of calm. 3 days later, back mountains of the dragon sect, East Emperor Luo Tian, West Emperor Sheiji, South Emperor Zhou Qian, North Emperor Yifeng, and Middle Emperor Nangong Tuesday. The 5 emperors looked at the young man before them. They did not know what their master was up to, but they knew that the fact that the 5 of them were summoned together meant that their master must have something urgent to instruct them on. Master, we're all here. Please speak your mind. Nodding his head, Longao did not beat around the bush. He got straight to the point. I've promised you guys that I'll help all of you break through to the illusionary divine stage within 3 months. I'm prepared to bring this date forward. We'll begin immediately. Now. Hearing the words of their master, the 5 emperors were surprised. They did not know what was up with their master today. Even though they were shocked by the speed of their master's cultivation, the 5 of them were still doubtful if their master could help them break through to the illusionary divine stage. Even though I can help all of you, the most important thing is for all of you to depend on yourselves. What I want to say now is that I can only provide the spiritual source. As for whether you guys can break through to the illusionary divine stage, that will depend on all of you. Chapter 420. The soul of the nine-tailed divine fox was refined into strength. Longao gave 2/3 of this strength to the 5 sovereigns. As for the remaining 1/3, he kept it for himself. According to his calculations, if he could absorb this strength, then his cultivation could definitely break through to the peak World King realm. As for whether or not he could reach the World Emperor realm, that was still unknown. 3 days passed. Longao helplessly smiled. Because he had absorbed this soul force, not only had his cultivation advanced, but he had also reached the so-called peak World King realm. Although it seemed like he was only a step away, the truth was that the difference was enormous. A peak World King and an early World Emperor were 2 completely different existences. They couldn't be compared. Within the Dragon Seal space. Long Fu, can I really condense my innate supernatural ability now? The God-sealing bead and God-punishing mirror have already been completely refined. As for whether or not you can condense the dragon roar supernatural ability, that will depend on you, Master. Longao nodded. He certainly understood this point. Without any hesitation, Longao and Long Fu immediately began. Longao was impatient. After all, according to what Long Fu and Long Chen had said, once he condensed the dragon roar supernatural ability, he would at least have a guarantee. Moreover, Long Fu had already said that the power of time was the most formidable strength in the world. Only by condensing the power of time could one step onto the peak of martial artists. According to Long Fu's instructions, Longao first absorbed the two strengths and then awakened the dragon bloodline within him. Rumble, rumble. Longao heard strange sounds coming from within his body. Not daring to be careless, Longao immediately revolved his bloodline and fused the two strengths into his bloodline. Bloodline multiplication supernatural ability. The five sovereigns had already opened their eyes. They looked at their master in a daze, wondering just what their master was doing. Master seems to be rising? No, peak world king. I have to admit that Master's cultivation speed is truly unprecedented. In a short 3 days, he broke through from a primary world king to a peak world king. According to this speed, in at most 3 months, Master will be able to reach the world emperor realm. The five sovereigns sighed. At this moment, Longao had reached the most critical moment. Success or failure depended on this one move. Rumble, rumble. The entire cave began to tremble. Before the 5 great rulers could react, a dragon's roar was heard. Soon after, the illusion of a huge dragon appeared behind Longao. The entire dragon's head stared at the 5 great rulers and was filled with dragon's might. The 5 emperors swallowed their saliva. Even though they had all broken through to the illusionary divine stage, they still felt their hearts tremble when they saw the illusory dragon staring at them. It's too scary. At this moment, the illusory dragon shadow let out a series of dragon roars, and a terrifying and strange power spread out in all directions, instantly enveloping the entire cave. The 5 emperors were shocked to discover that their bodies had been frozen and the flow of time around them had changed. Just what was going on? Could this be a dragon martial artist? The 5 emperors had certainly seen dragon martial artists before, but they had never seen such a terrifying illusory dragon shadow. Just what was Master doing? After the dragon's roar, the illusory dragon shadow vanished without a trace. Longao slowly opened his eyes, a look of pleasant surprise on his face. The heavens didn't disappoint those who worked hard. His bloodline had given birth to a supernatural ability. Innate supernatural ability, Dragon Roar. If this matter were to be known by the Long family, who knew what would happen to them? After all, Longao hadn't even entered the Long family's ancestral hall to undergo a baptism, and yet he had already given birth to a supernatural ability. Such a talent and bloodline was absolutely the treasure of the Long family. But it was impossible for the Long family to know. Longao also couldn't tell the Long family. Master, just now, the 5 emperors didn't know how to describe it. After all, the illusory dragon shadow was simply too terrifying. Just by locking their bodies and changing the flow of time, it was enough to change the outcome of the battle. Although the 5 emperors were confident that with their combined strength, they would be able to break free from the lockdown in the shortest amount of time. What if their master's cultivation had broken through to the illusionary divine stage? They wouldn't be able to resist at all. Although the 5 emperors were unwilling to admit it, the truth was right in front of them. Don't leak this matter out. Just now, I only gave birth to a supernatural ability through my bloodline. I believe that you guys wouldn't be unfamiliar with the natural supernatural ability of a Long family, right? F***CK, Sheiji couldn't help but curse. This was because the 5 emperors were very familiar with the natural supernatural ability of a Long family. In the heavens and earth, the strength of a dragon martial artist was much stronger than a normal martial artist, especially a dragon martial artist who could give birth to a supernatural ability. However, it was common knowledge that among the Long family dragon martial artists, there were very few who could give birth to a supernatural ability. Furthermore, Everyone knew that in order to give birth to a supernatural ability through one's bloodline, one had to enter a long family and undergo a baptism in the ancestral hall. Could it be that the master had already been to a Long family's ancestral hall? Master, have you been to a Long family? Shaking his head, Longao said, No, I was lucky to be able to give birth to a supernatural ability through my bloodline this time. Everything still depends on luck. Luck? Luck? Hearing the master's words, the 5 emperors were helpless. They smiled bitterly and said, Master, you have already given birth to a supernatural ability. We have already sensed that your supernatural ability is very powerful. I don't dare to say that you are an illusionary divine martial artist, but with your current strength, once you use your supernatural ability, you can easily kill a world emperor. Especially Master Saber. Saber breaking the heavens, its power is even more shocking. Nodding his head, Longao was very confident in his supernatural ability. The God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror could not be compared to the Dragon Roar divine ability. World Emperor. Longao had strong confidence. With his current strength, once he used his innate divine ability, it would not be a difficult thing to kill the World Emperor. Master, I would like to ask, what is the name of the supernatural ability you just gave birth to? The 5 sovereigns were very surprised, because they had just witnessed a dragon warrior, without relying on the baptism of the dragon clan's ancestral hall, the process of his bloodline propagating innate divine ability, and personally experienced the power of his innate divine ability. It was very terrifying. Dragon Roar. Looking at the master who had already disappeared, the 5 emperors looked at each other and saw a trace of shock in each other's eyes. This was because from the beginning to the end, they could not understand the master. The master seemed to be very tightly wrapped up. No matter what, the master's talent and potential were very strong. Together with him, they also benefited a lot. In just 3 days, he had officially broken through from the World Emperor realm to the illusionary divine realm. If it was in the past, not to mention personally breaking through, they would not even have heard of it. It was simply unheard of. P.S. After being busy with the plane tickets in the morning, Little Nine is writing with all his might. Everyone, please be patient. Chapter 421. Long Ao heaved a sigh of relief as the 5 emperors successfully broke through to the illusionary divine stage. The 8 realms of the illusionary divine stage were divided into the half-sage, sage, earth sage, sky sage, king sage, sage emperor, and sage emperor. Long Ao knew that the 5 emperors had just broken through to the half-sage stage. According to the 5 emperors, the spiritual energy in one's body would turn into holy energy once one broke through to the half-sage stage. This was a qualitative change in one's strength. Long Ao had been waiting for the revenge of the 4 major forces ever since he had massacred the destruction army sent by the 4 major forces. However, he had waited for a long time. Not even a strand of hair had come, let alone the so-called 4 major forces. Could it be that the 4 forces did not intend to attack him? This was impossible. Long Ao knew that the feud between him and the 4 forces had reached a point where they could not tolerate each other. It was a situation where one of them had to die. Therefore, the 4 forces would not let him off. Although the 4 forces did not continue to find trouble with him, Long Ao did not dare to relax. Who knew what the 4 forces were up to? In front of the dragon sect. Little Mississippi, who are you calling Little Miss? You are the Little Mississippi. Your whole family are Little Misses. Your father is a Little Miss. Your mother is a Little Miss. Your younger siblings are all Little Misses. How dare you call me Little Miss? The 2 outer disciples of the dragon sect were dumbfounded. However, they had the backing of the entire dragon sect and were not afraid at all. Who would dare to offend Long Ao? Who would dare to offend the master? All the disciples of the dragon sect worshipped Long Ao. They even started to blindly worship and trust him. Because of this, the 2 dragon sect disciples were enraged. Are you here to find trouble? Do you know where this is? This is the dragon sect. Get Long Ao to come out and see me. Long Ao? Hearing that the girl in front of them wanted to see the dragon sect, The two of them laughed maniacally. However, Tonglinger directly slapped them. You dare to hit me? So what? Tonglinger, this is the dragon sect. This is not a place for you to behave atrociously.
Master,
Seeing the sudden appearance of the master, the two of them were extremely excited. After all, in their hearts, the young man in front of them was like a god. They did not get to see him at all times. Longao, do you want to know where Senior is? No. Longao was very clear in his heart that it was simply impossible for Tonglinger to tell him Yuin's whereabouts. Since that was the case, why did he still have to do something superfluous? No, I have to tell you. Then come with me. Longao was very surprised. He didn't know what Tonglinger meant. Tonglinger chuckled and said that he was a dog relying on its master's power. He quickly followed Longao. In the pavilion at the back mountain of the dragon sect. Speak. Where is Yuin? Hee, I don't want to tell you now. Longao's expression froze. He suppressed his anger and waved his hand. His voice was clearly angry as he said, The dragon sect does not welcome you. Please leave. Ha ha ha, Longao. I've decided that from now on, I want to stay here. I've just looked around. The environment here is pretty good. Longao was completely out of ideas. Tonglinger was Yu Yin's junior sister. He believed that Yu Yin must love her junior sister very much. Therefore, no matter what happened, he could not hurt Tonglinger. However, Tonglinger's personality was very different from ordinary people. She was capricious. If he really allowed her to stay, she would cause trouble for the dragon sect. Wouldn't he be asking for trouble? However, if she refused to leave, what else could he do? If you want to stay, please do as you wish. I don't have the time to accompany you. I've just sensed it. I never thought that there would be a great emperor in the dragon sect. Longao, you've really hidden your strength well. Hearing these words, Longao's face immediately froze. He knew who the great emperor that Tonglinger was talking about was. It was the Fire Qilin. A few days ago, the Fire Qilin had already rushed to the dragon sect. The reason was simple. It needed his help for its final recovery. Because of this, Longao was even more shocked. The Fire Qilin was very powerful. It was a real titled Great Emperor. Ordinary people, including illusionary divine martial artists, would not be able to sense it. How could Tonglinger sense the aura of the Fire Qilin? Could it be that Tonglinger was a great emperor? She was not a fusion martial artist. Longao, you don't have to guess. I am indeed a great emperor. Therefore, from now on, you'd better listen to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. Just as expected, Longao was very surprised. He never thought that Tonglinger was really a great emperor. If such a powerful martial artist stayed in the dragon sect and had some ulterior motives, what should he do? What should the dragon sect do? Tonglinger, I don't care who you are, and I don't care how powerful you are. I still want to tell you one thing. The dragon sect does not welcome you. Please leave. If you insist on staying, I can't do anything about it. However, you'd better behave yourself. Otherwise, I won't go easy on you. Seeing that Longao was still so domineering, Tonglinger did not seem to have expected it. She stuck out her tongue and chuckled. Don't worry, I won't disturb him. I'm not his opponent. I'm only staying here for a few days and will leave soon to return to the sect. Longao could not be bothered with Tonglinger. He was not worried at all. Just like what Tonglinger had said, with her current strength, she was no match for the Fire Qilin. No matter what, the Fire Qilin was still a titled Great Emperor. As long as the Fire Qilin was in the Dragon Sect, Tonglinger would not be able to play any tricks. Looking at the disappearing figure, Tonglinger suddenly laughed. What an interesting person. Longao did not ask too much about Tonglinger. He knew that if Tonglinger wanted to deal with him and the Dragon Sect, there was no need for her to go through so much trouble. The Tianwu continent was divided into 9 prefectures. They were the Sky Prefecture, Earth Prefecture, Sun Prefecture, Moon Prefecture, Setting Sun Prefecture, Cloud Prefecture, Crimson Prefecture, Illusion Prefecture, and Black Forest Prefecture. During this time, the 4 major powers had been attacking the Dragon Sect. It could be said that they did not care about the 9 prefectures. The sects and families of the 9 prefectures did not know what to do. However, everyone hoped that the 4 major powers would continue fighting the dragon sect. That way, once both sides suffered, they would be able to reap the benefits. No one wanted to be ruled. However, for some reason, the 4 major powers stopped attacking the dragon sect. Instead, they began to fight over the 9 prefectures. In an instant, the 9 prefectures were in chaos. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.